Jarvis fires away. That's a fly ball, deep to left, back! That's it! Hey! He did it! Ernie Banks got number 500! A line drive shot into the seats and left. The ball tossed to the bullpen. Everybody on your feet. This is it.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Here's the stretch by Robinson. The 3-0 pitch. Swing and long drive! There it is! Number 500! The career 500th home run for Michael Jack Smith!
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
The pitch. And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Ortiz to right field. Back goes Souza. Looking up. It is gone. David Ortiz, the newest member of the 500 Club. Big Papi, the greatest clutch hitter in Red Sox history.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon. 101 Elm Avenue, Waco, Texas, just down the road from McLean Stadium, and you'll see Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Behind the scenes today, Armstrong, Sims, Jack McKenzie, and Grayson is in the studio. We're going to hear from him momentarily. It's the opening of Baylor football spring drills this afternoon. Yes, there's March Madness. Yes, there's news, of course, Jerome Tang and Kansas State, that press conference later in the week in Manhattan. We'll hear from Scott Drew on Jerome Tang and a writer who covers Kansas State, Tim Fitzgerald. But on the set today, Paul and I traded a text or two this morning. I said, hey, how about for show number 500, we go and get some home run hitters? And he did across the board with Mike Schmidt and Ken Griffey Jr. and David Ortiz and Ernie Banks among those who hit their 500th home run. And yes, that's a cake thanks to HEB. Went by and picked that up today as we celebrate number 500. I don't know what we'll do for 600, but I know that we have this one, and then April 6th is our second year, and already Cody and Chris and Ray and Scotty and Paula and Biscuits and Gravy and others are saying happy 500th. I know it's 500. And you think about it, that's about 2 years worth of shows, and that's what we have coming up here in just a moment. So there we have it. We wish you were here to help cut the cake and enjoy it as well. So Baylor spring drills begin today. Craig wrote an article in Sikkim365.com in the premium section about what to look for, and we'll discuss that. And before we get to Grayson, Craig, the competition at quarterback at the very top?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I don't know. I think there's other spots that are equally as important, but of course everybody's going to focus on quarterback. So yeah, I guess that would be at the top in terms of both interest and also, you know, just the battles. I think that's the one that will be the most talked about for sure. But yeah, I mean, we don't know what Blake Shapen's health status is. He was hurt in the Big 12 championship game. We haven't seen him since, outside of just being on the sidelines and with the sling on his arm. So is he healthy enough to participate in spring ball? I mean, are we going to see him out there? We don't even know that yet. We'll know in a couple hours, or I guess in about an hour, we'll figure that out. Gary Bohannon's back. He was the starter to begin the year until he got hurt, and then Shapen led him to the stretch run, and then Bohannon was back for the Sugar Bowl, and they didn't win that game because of him. They won that game because of big defense and a running game. So I don't think he did anything when he came back to go, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to be the starter next year. I think it's completely wide open with Shapen and Bohannon being the two strongest candidates because they played the most. But I'm really curious to see if Kyron Drones can maybe make it interesting and what kind of steps he's taken. And I don't think that there should be, if you're Dave Aranda, just a guy and then everybody else. I think it's wide open. I don't think there was anything that you saw offensively last year where you go, oh, yeah, we're good. We don't really need – no, they need somebody that's going to be able to come in here and not have to rely solely on the running game to get things going. They need a guy who can sling it around, and we saw some of that from Shapen. We saw a little bit of that from Gary, but we also saw a lot of not so good in that regard as well. So, that's a spot that they need to figure out, and good news is they've got about a handful of candidates, so really three main guys, but here the battle starts, and the battle's kind of been underway in the weight room, but now they get back on the field.
Yeah, outside of look, the top two ball carriers are both not going to be there, so that's going to be a change. The top three pass catchers are not going to, at least wide receivers are not going to be there. I know Ben Sims is back, but so you've got changes all over the field, just in the skill positions, and then that's not even before we get to defense. I do think what the last two games of the season, nothing else before that, like Blake Shapen playing against TCU or any of that withstanding. What the Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl showed is that Baylor has a quarterback competition. And Blake Shapen played really, really well in the Big 12 championship game until he got dinged. And Gary Bohannon did not play well in the Sugar Bowl. So that leads you to believe that there should be some sort of competition. Not to say that it won't be a good one, but yeah.
If Bohannon hadn't gone down, would there have been a quarterback competition? Yeah. Had he not? Because he was the guy. Now, there would have been in the spring, regardless of injuries or who was in and out or not. But I'm sure because you want that. You want to be pushed. You want those who are maybe not starters to push whoever are the starters to where it's hard to make that decision. But when he went down, that gave us a glimpse of what Shapen can do, and maybe some in practice had already been seeing that.
I mean, there's a lot of what-ifs you can do. I mean, what if Gary Bohannon stays healthy? Do they make the Big 12 title game? Because I don't know that they do. I mean, they had two losses when he went down, And, those other games, that Tech game was awfully, awfully close. We don't know how that would have played out. We don't know how the Big 12 title game would have played out if Gary would have played most of that game, because that game, the Big 12 title game in particular, was Blake Shapen giving them a big lead early on with some help from the defense as well, and then being able to hold on to that and scrape together enough at the end to be able to get stops, not scores, to win that game. So, yeah, I mean, maybe if Gary Bohannon doesn't go down, then he never loses that job. But maybe if that happens, then they finish the season with 3 or 4 losses, and they're not, defending Big 12 champions and Sugar Bowl champions. So, yeah, it's a curious puzzle right now. You know what you've got in Gary, but how much better has he gotten? What's he improved upon? Shapen, again, first, the big question is health, but where's he gotten better, if at all, and what's he improved on? And I'm just really curious to kind of hear, Dave Aranda's comments, and if we get the opportunity to talk to Sean Bell, which I think we will. I think I saw that on the schedule. I don't know. Maybe I misread that.
Yeah,
but
I think it's Thursday.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we'll talk to him, and I'm just curious to kind of hear their comments and then be able to go back and listen and, try to see if there was maybe a little more of an indicator, kind of read between the lines a little bit. But, I said this in the article, I'm under no illusion that we'll have a starting quarterback named by the end of spring. I just don't think that they will probably do that. And we'll see how it goes. It took them all the way up to basically right before the season last year to go ahead and name Bohannon the starter. But yeah, I think it should be completely wide open from my vantage point.
What is so ironic is everyone knew. Well, really, we didn't know until about a week ago. Baylor football put something out that you could tell that maybe spring drills was starting in 6 days, and then David Kay at Athletic Communications gave us sent us an email that officially Tuesday, the 22nd, would be the day that spring drills started. But it's like, what if they didn't start for another week or two after what happened over the weekend in basketball? There's kind of this, I know there's baseball, there's softball, whatever, but it would have been kind of this lull, and there's still going to be a little bit of that when the games start to pick up at the end of the week. But this was great timing, and it, to me, would give football, which has earned it anyway, no matter what men's and women's basketball were doing, it earned it because of what they did. And it should be that way at a big boy program, which it proved to be. Is my laptop on fire? I think my laptop just went on.
When you light the candles, you're supposed to blow them out, but we forgot that.
We forgot to do that. Now there's 3 U's or 3 rabbits in front of our candle. But it's get kind of full throttle on football.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. And yeah, basketball was set to take the headlines more so over the next few weeks as far as what we were planning on. But that's not the case. They both bowed out. So, yeah, it's now on to football. And I brought this up with Grayson earlier, and, we kind of see the same point here. Although I know it feels a little bit differently about it, but I was just thinking last night, Baylor should have another good defense once again, but I don't think that this is going to be a Big 12 where you can just rely on your defense to win you games every time. And they kind of did that last year. And if they weren't relying solely on their defense, they were relying obviously on their offensive line, but mostly on their running game. I mean, what games did they go out and just pass their way to victories last year? Like none of them, right? So now you look around the Big 12. Okay, Texas, you got Sark and his offense. You got Xavier Worthy and Bijan Robinson back. They just spent millions of dollars on a new O-line. Now, granted, a bunch of freshmen coming in might not be up to task right away, but they did spend money on an O-line, and Quinn Ewers is this big, hot prodigy, so you would think their offense is going to be a lot better than it was. Oklahoma brings in Jeff Lebby, so here comes the Ole Miss, Baylor, Briles offense, and he brings in Dylan Gabriel, who they helped torch records, a few years back. So I would think Oklahoma will be ready for Bear offensively and with up-tempo. West Virginia went and hired Graham Harrell, so they're going to be running the air raid. Texas Tech goes and they're going to be running the Western Kentucky offense, which broke records. Now, they don't have Bailey Zappi, but they have gotten a couple of the Western Kentucky offensive linemen through the transfer portal. Another guy I forgot to mention with Texas, Isaiah Nayor, a incredible wide receiver who a lot of people probably don't know about because he played at Wyoming, but he's very, very good. And TCU, Sonny Dykes with his style of offense. I mean, there's another one that will be looking to score a lot of points. I mentioned West Virginia with Harrell. Kleiman, you bring in Adrian Martinez to K-State, so they're not going to be one that's like probably throwing it around a ton, but they're going to be a lot more dangerous, in terms of what they could potentially do with him because he is a great runner. Now, the passing, I know, but still, that's going to give them another wrinkle and just so on and so forth. So I think you've seen the Big 12 make a bunch of strides or moves on the offensive side of the ball that leads me to believe that this is going to be more of an offensive-focused conference. I think it was more defensive, obviously, last year. A lot of that had to do with quarterback play, But you look at the transfers and the hires and all of that, I think this is going to be a conference that's ready to play a lot better offense in 2022.
Yeah, it's not going to go back to what it was, but it's going to be much more efficient, much more prolific, you would think, because back in the day, you didn't have to play much defense to win, and I think you still have to win a championship with whoever has the best combination of both.
Yeah, well, and look, Oklahoma State's still going to have Spencer Sanders, and they're still going to do, probably what they did last year, which maximized his abilities really well. I mean, and took away the mistakes that had plagued him throughout the earlier parts of his career. And look, Iowa State is going to be on an island kind of doing what they do, but that's what Matt Campbell does. He's not, I don't think he's out there, sweating like, oh my God, I got to get a guy who runs the spread. He's going to do what he's done all this time. And so it'll be interesting. Baylor's going to run the wide zone, and that can be a big time offense. We saw it at BYU. It wasn't a, when you have a guy getting drafted second overall at quarterback, it's not because he's good at handing it off.
Grayson Grundhoefer and Craig Smoak every Tuesday record the Bearcast. It's up. It'll be available for you. Also, of course, a part of the Sick'em365.com premium. We'll have a couple of comments from Scott Drew here in a little bit about Jerome Tang, and then a Kansas State writer, Tim Fitzgerald, about what it means and what has been the reaction in Manhattan, which seems to be overly positive. Mac Rhodes in about an hour. Craig's off the radar. We'll also check in on Iowa State with Randy Peterson, their basketball team still alive. David Hellman, John McClain, Paul's Top 5, and much more. Congratulations to Corey Coleman, former Baylor All-American who's not really had much success in the NFL. Today, I called him right before he's about to take off. I saw the note from Ian Rappaport. He is being signed by Kansas City. I always hope that someone like that has a chance, and if they take advantage of it, he has not yet so far. But he was on his way to fly to Kansas City. Not sure we'll get him on, but did speak with him. He was excited, you could tell. And he's kind of a low-key guy sometimes, but he was on his way to Kansas City. Go ahead.
Yeah, Corey being the talker that he is, if we don't talk to him, I don't know if it's going to be all that different because he's so quiet. At least the last time we talked to him, years ago, or I did at least. And, speaking of quiet, it's been quiet around him for a couple of years, ever since he had the abrupt exit. Was a high first-round draft pick, had the world by the you-know-whats, it seemed like, and then just from the get-go, it just was a bad fit in Cleveland, and then, he bounced what was like the New York Giants there for a little while, and then injuries, and yeah, it's not been a very memorable run for him, but that was a big surprise to just randomly see him, pop up on the old Twitter as having signed with the Chiefs, and so I'm excited for him. I hope he's got himself in shape. I'm sure he does. I hope he's got his brain right. I'm sure he does, and I hope he can somehow make an impact on that roster because I would love to see a good comeback story.
500th show today, and there are so many. I mentioned who's in the studio today. We have analysts, of course. Cannot go to Grayson yet without mentioning Colt Barber, Brian Etheridge, and Ashley Hodge, who contacted us almost immediately when our professional life changed a little bit on March the 18th. And within just 2 or 3 days, we had agreements to start what they wanted and what we said, okay, to do a radio show, which we've done for many, many years and elsewhere. And we are glad to be here, and thank you all for being a part of it as well. Grayson Grundhoefer, by the way, Armstrong, I saw the note about it, also mentioning Hayden. Of course, a lot of our behind the scenes today with Faith and Levi and Emery not here in studio. They were here yesterday, and we appreciate all of them. Grayson Grundhoefer in studio. He's going to be at Baylor football practice, the opening, when they give you a chance to have a window. Grayson, you just heard what we do, what we say. You know that. You're a part of this as well. Your thoughts about, in fact, what is the number 1 or 2 storylines for you coming into spring drills?
Yeah, I mean, y'all just talked about one of the most important ones, right? The quarterback position. I know that's going to be a hot topic, I think, all through spring. And it's kind of unfortunate because it's the same thing that went on last year between Jacob Zeno, Blake Shapen, and Gary Bohannon. And you come back around and it's like, here we go again. We have all these conversations that are going to take place about it. And frankly, at the end of the day, I still think the starter will probably be Gary Bohannon the first game of the year because I think he's kind of earned that. And with what he did throughout the season, the fact that, they finished so strong, I know he didn't particularly play well in this season, but I think he's earned enough that he's going to end up being the guy. But I do think it should be an open competition. I think if Shapen goes out there and does what he did in the Big 12 championship every single day in practice, well then it's probably going to go to him. But I just have a hunch that Gary's probably going to be the guy. So that's a big storyline. I think pretty much every position, skill position on the offensive side is just something that we have to talk about. I mean, running back, wide receiver in particular, I mean, who are the young guys that are going to step up? And I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is kind of seeing, okay, these young wide receivers, are they going to take away the spots of Jackson Gleason, Jalen Ellis, Seth Jones, or are those older guys going to step into a role? And then at the running back position, I mean, who knows? I mean, is Jordan Jenkins, is his talent going to rise to the top? Or is Tay McWilliams, that physical mindset that he brought when he came into games this year, is that going to win out? I mean, it's just so intriguing. Josh Fleeks might be playing running back when we go out there. That might be his new position permanently. Squirrel Williams, if he's healthy. I mean, just so many options and so many questions with those two groups. So I'm definitely going to be focused on that. I think the guard spot on the offensive side is definitely something to pay attention to as well. Xavier Newman-Johnson going to the league. Now you got Micah Mascua versus Gavin Byers is what most people believe. I also think Tate Williams will probably be in the mix as well. But yeah, offensively, that's where I kind of think things are at. And then defensive side, there's a lot of other storylines as well.
Well, I think that the weird thing is most years is we kind of have a general idea because we got to see wide receiver maybe more so than running back, because at running back you kind of know, like, you know, you saw the depth chart. Like, look, when it was time for a third guy to come in the game, it was Tay McWilliams. So it stands to reason that he is going to get the first crack at being the full-time lead dog there. But at wide receiver, outside of Monterey Baldwin in the Sugar Bowl, we don't know who the other guys were. I mean, I can't remember anything that anybody else did last year off the top of my head. And that's because they pretty much played those 3-4 guys, and that was it.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll say with the Tay McWilliams part is that Jordan Jenkins was a true freshman. I mean, that's hard to just kind of throw him into the mix there and play him. I think he probably needed a year of seasoning. But I do think Tay will ultimately be the starter game one, assuming they don't bring in a transfer. But there's a lot of really good running backs in that room that it's very fascinating to see what the dynamic will be. We know Jeff Grimes wants to play multiple running backs, which, again, that leads to a lot of different carries for a lot of different guys. Wide receiver, I think you're right. The problem is last spring, Jalen Ellis had a really good spring, and then he got hurt, which has kind of been the story of his career so far. But he's a guy who I see a lot of potential, but can he put it all together, and can he stay healthy for a whole spring? That's going to be a huge question mark because the rest of the guys are very, very young.
Ellis, Holmes, Squirrel, guys that, you hear a lot, people excited about them because they flashed at times, and yet the best availability is availability, and it hasn't been, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's where the young guys have an opportunity to seize a role. I mean, even Hal Presley was playing a little bit at some points last year. Josh Cameron, the walk-on out of Cedar Park, he got in and played some as well. So those guys took advantage and tried to find a way on the field. But last year, they really only stuck to about 4 wide receivers for the whole season. So we didn't get to see a lot of the young guys emerge.
Yeah, and they've got a new coach in Dallas Baker, so there's also that change coming as well with the wide receivers, moving on from Chancey Stuckey, who's now at Notre Dame. So I'm curious to see him out there as far as one of the new coaches, and also safeties. His name, I'm forgetting his name, the coach.
Wow. Oh, Ronnie Wheat.
Ronnie Wheat. Yes, thank you. I was thinking Ronnie Wood. That's a rock star. And I was like, I know that's not right in my head. But yeah, Ronnie Wheat out there as well with safeties and special teams. But yeah, there's a lot of totally unproven at wide receiver. I mean, just completely unproven. I'm curious to see, maybe an Armani Winfield, who's an early enrollee, can actually come in and play right away. I mean, he's got every opportunity to. I don't know if he'll be where he is physically ready and mentally and all those things. But Grayson, I mean, there's playing time available. And on the early enrollees, it's Armani Winfield, and who else is joining that as well? They got about, 5-6 guys that are early enrolled right now.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, a lot of it is on the defensive side. But Of note, 2 tight ends did early enroll, which are Kelsey Johnson, Cody Mudinka. I think Mudinka is going to be your more traditional tight end, right? He's going to be more that Ben Sims mold, Christoph Henley, probably early in his career, more of a blocker, but he showed flashes at College Park, kind of what he can do. And so he's very intriguing to me. And then Kelsey Johnson is extremely intriguing because Baylor didn't really have an H-back last year. They didn't really have someone that filled that role. And I think Baylor really wants that role to become more prevalent. I mean, you had Dylan Doyle going out there and running fullback. I think they want somebody that's a little more versatile, kind of playing a true H-back role. And Kelsey fits that mold so well, and honestly, unlike anyone else on the roster. So those are a couple guys that are very intriguing.
And that tight ends room is their strongest on offense easily. I mean, they've got everybody back there. You got Ben Sims coming back. I mean, we don't know about Christoph Henley, but Drake Dabney's back. And then you had 2 early enrollees, and I just feel like that should be a pretty strong position for them and a good starting point on offense.
Yeah, definitely.
Along with the line, obviously, duh.
Yeah, the starting positions for tight end are good, but I mean, if either one of them go down, I mean, they don't have a lot of guys, and that's why they took 3 tight ends in this last class. That's why they're going to take 2 tight ends in the next class as well. So they clearly want even more depth at that position, which makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we saw it this year. Jeff Grimes wants to get guys out there at the tight end spot. He needs guys that can block and guys that can, make an impact in the receiving game.
If you look at the leading tacklers, that we're going to check these off real quick. Spring drills for Baylor starting this afternoon. Grayson will be there. Jack McKenzie will be there. Craig eventually will be there as well. And it's full throttle. We'll have some more stuff for tomorrow. Terrell Bernard gone. Dylan Doyle back. Petrie, Woods gone. Matt Jones
back.
Who really, at time, there was the play against Oklahoma State in the regular season that was costly, but he really stepped up after that. Tejada gone, Walcott back, who became their big play guy among Woods and others in the secondary. Christian Morgan's gone.
No, he's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Christian Morgan's back. He's a junior.
No, he elected to come back for another year.
So it's a fourth year?
No, he's a fifth year
senior. Okay. Yeah. T.J. Franklin.
Back.
Cole Maxwell.
Back. The entire D-line's back.
So all of them are back. Now they have the secondary. Ika is back. And then, of course, you have Jackson Player, the transfer, who they are. I mean, the secondary's got some work to do, but they have more back than sometimes you think because Bernard and Petrie and Woods and Tejada and some of them, McVay made the play of all time. There's so many of those guys that made big plays. The kicking game's good too, right? I mean, that's one thing, don't ever overlook that. That's good. Now you have to find somebody that replaces Ebner, but they have plenty of people you would think to be able to handle that position, although Ebner was threat to take every kick punt the distance. Let's take a break right here. We'll come back with more. Can you hang around a little bit longer?
Yeah, I do have one.
Go ahead.
NFL note real quick of interest. Baker Mayfield's out there and available, and the Panthers are looking for a quarterback, Matt Rule and company. Aaron Wilson says Baker Mayfield Panthers have mutual disinterest in working together, and that won't be a trade destination. So no Baker Mayfield to Carolina. You can go ahead and scratch that one off.
All right, when we come back, a little bit more about Baylor Spring Drills and also your thoughts on the chat room and text, 254-339-1122. We'll have a couple of comments from Scott Drew, and then we'll discuss the Jerome Tang hire. What's it like in Manhattan? It's been apparently absolutely overwhelming, and Tim Fitzgerald will give us a little bit of that from GoPowerCat.com. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports on show number 500. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off of Valley Mills in Waco. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne run the store. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor with some great cigars. I mean, among the elite around, not the country, but the world. Ashton and Macanudo, Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Cohiba, Patron, and more. Even My Father, which is a great brand. La Fontana, which is kind of a sometimes under the radar, but a very smooth cigar as well. And they have CBD products, including Vita Dreams, and it works. If you struggle at night falling asleep, for whatever reason, stress, you just have too much on your mind, you just can't sleep. Vitadreams, it's a gummy that if you take a gummy, it will help you fall asleep much quicker and more peacefully. And by the way, you don't toss and turn and lose an hour of sleep or 30 minutes of sleep. When the alarm goes off, yeah, you always probably want to hit snooze, but do you want to hit snooze because you tossed and turned all night long? It's Vitadreams, a CBD product as well, and of course, fresh coffee beans available. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including barre, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Cars priced right both day and night. And Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. And Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. And Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. And Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Back here in studio, Grayson Grundhafer also here, Jack and Armstrong. We are here, and yes, there's a piece of this cake number 500, and I got to give credit to Craig. For one, every single guest we have ever had from day one, April 6th of 2020, we know how many times, what date they were on. And then keeping up as well with the shows. Armstrong joined us in September. of 2020. We also then, of course, had this studio, and we've kept up with a lot of the timelines. David Carter just sent me a personal text about keeping up with the numbers of shows, and yes, today is number 500. One of the things about Paul, and then we go back to Baylor football spring drills and a couple of notes about Jerome Tang, is that when I went and said, okay, let's look at the guys who hit 500 home runs. With the way things are now, you would think there might be 40 of them. There really aren't that many. You had the Bonds, Sosa, McGuire, Jim Tomei, and I'm not trying to lump them all together, who was either on steroids or not. But
Manny.
Manny Ramirez. But there are still not that many, and most of them are still the old school.
Yeah, it was weird because, the first ones I thought was like, I'm going to get one from like kind of every era, but as you get into the 60s, you go find things on YouTube or online, the audio quality, especially for the Yankees, like Mickey Mantle's, by the way, Mickey Mantle's 500th home run is a hard thing to watch. There's no one in the stands. It's 1967 when he hits it. There's hardly anyone in the stands. It's the day game at Yankee Stadium. There's no one there, and it took him about 6 minutes to get around the bases. His knees were so bad. I felt bad watching it. And then the announcer didn't even say, this is his 500th home run. So I guess people would just have known that, but even still. So that I went through and found some good ones. I mean, Ernie Banks, the Cubs have always had great broadcasters. Michael Jack Schmidt, I mean, that's Harry Kalas, who probably the top 3 all-time MLB broadcaster, and then I threw in some from Craig and I's era, like King Griffey Jr., and then, of course, the most important person in my life that I'm not related to, David Ortiz. Yeah.
One of the things about home runs, go ahead.
There's only 28 guys who've hit 500 home runs.
And I bet 10 of them are from the 1990s and beyond, perhaps about 10 of them.
I mean, I can kind of go through it, but there's 28 guys. Pujols is not on a team right now, correct, Paul? Yeah. So he's technically active, but not on a roster. He's 5th all time. He's got 679. As far as active players, the only active player that's currently signed to a roster that has more than 500 is Miguel Cabrera, who's got 502. So there's 28 guys. He's number 28. And then the closest besides that, as far as an active player, Nelson Cruz. He's got 449 home runs. So in theory, if he plays long enough, he could
He's
perhaps
played longer than I thought he would.
500. I mean, imagine Nelson Cruz hitting 500 home runs. Only 28 guys have done that. That would be an incredible mark for him. But yeah, it's an incredible list of just a who's who of baseball players. And a lot of guys who got close. Adrian Beltre was 23 home runs away from 500 before he hung up his cleats. And yeah, it's a very interesting group.
One of the things that doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe because it was during my childhood when I had baseball cards and you read the newspaper, there was none of this other stuff. Not that I don't know, but I can remember Aaron had 755. I think Bonds is like 770 or something, 62. Killebrew was 573. I believe that's right. Mays was 660. Ernie Banks was 512. I believe that's correct. And I might be wrong on a couple of others, but those are numbers that stick in my head. I cannot tell you
all right,
any of the other numbers of the current guys who have gone above 500. I just haven't.
But if you look at like the list of 500, there's not like a lot of guys when they get to 500, they clearly were sticking around to get to it because, like Gary Sheffield was 509. So he hit 500, which I saw the highlight was his first home run when he was a New York Met. And then he hit 8 more after that. And then that was it for Gary Sheffield, So, they're trying to get there and they do, and you can, but it's not, it's clearly not the same.
All right, here's a Scott Drew. A couple of comments, Armstrong, on Scott Drew.
By the way,
we're not going to use,
closest, real, true, Nelson Cruz is active. He's on the Nationals. So he's flirting with 500 if he can play, probably a couple more years. But in terms of, young guys or younger guys or somebody you might not think is anywhere close, the closest to 500 right now in current baseball would be Giancarlo Stanton. He's got 347. But, yeah, that's what we're looking at as far as new members joining the club outside of a Nelson Cruz hitting 51 more.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there was a couple of times, like a 5 or 6 year period where you could get 100 home runs in a couple of years pretty easy. Aaron Wilson, thank you as well. The super chat also from Biscuits and Gravy. Thanks for the super chat. $9.99 and $5. Haven't had one of those in a while. We do appreciate it. Now, Scott Drew, and this is a question for him about what the impact of Jerome Tang over 19 years, but what was his main impact, according to Scott Drew, when they first started coaching together at Baylor?
Well, I mean, when we first got to Baylor, a lot of times we'd call recruits and it was Baylor and no interest, hang up, goodbye. Can we get in your house? Nope, bye. I mean, and Coach Tang's positivity throughout all of that is a big reason why we were able to in his hard work was why we were able to be successful. At the same time, when we first started out, I mean, Coach Tang, if he drove all night, spent the night in his car, I mean, whatever it took to get to point A to point B, he was going to do. And as far as just always doing it with a positive attitude and doing it in a way that represented the university at the highest. I think our first year, we were trying anything to motivate our guys when you're playing between 5 and 7 scholarship guys and in the Big 12 and half a team of walk-ons. And I think he was notorious for playing the drums on a trash can before we went out to get us fired up. I brought the jock jams. I think he had better rhythm, so he jumped on the trash can. But I think Coach Tang has been the same throughout. What I mean by that, extremely hard work and high character, very loyal, very passionate, and he treats people the right way. And he always sees the good, and he'll have high expectations. I mean, he came to Baylor because he wanted to win national championships, and we're going to cheer for him at K-State, except for when he plays us. So hopefully we're both in the national championship game together.
That's Scott Drew. There's 3 or 4 comments. We'll use one more. This was a question about the coaching staff, but he had kind of mentioned it. He was asked by Kendall Cowd about whether or not they would does he know who Jerome Tang may take with him? Now, I've texted a couple of the coaches, and one of them said right now he's thinking about it, but no decision made. That may be different by now. That was 3 or 4 hours ago. But you would think there might be some attrition there. And he was asked about, okay, when you go about making the decision on who does join your staff or who else is promoted, is it Jared Nunez that moves up or who? Do you think about the responsibilities of what they have while you're making that decision?
Yeah, I definitely coaches always know other people that they would like to work with and think would do a good job. A big thing is staff chemistry, and a big reason for our success has been staff continuity. And I mean, all of you can relate when you take a new job. That first year, it's more a transition, and that second and third year, you're really clicking on all cylinders. And it's just like players. Normally, the longer they stay in a program, the more productive and better they are. So with us, staff chemistry has been huge, and we'll make sure that who we bring in fits in well with what we have, and what adjustments we make with that keeps our culture intact and progressing like it has. And, of course, the family tree just grows, and then they'll grow from others who have left, whether it's Paul Mills or Grant McCaslin, or maybe Jerome Tang or Matt Driscoll and others that move around. By the way, SMU's Tim Jankovich, who joined us on the show about 2 weeks ago, announces his retirement at the age of 62. One of the names that's involved, at least initially, when you hear some reports, or one of them that would make sense at least for SMU to look at or talk to, is Grant McCaslin at North Texas. Although I shared a text with a couple of people on staff at North Texas, and they go, we sure hope not, but if it gets to a certain point money-wise, there's nothing much that North Texas can do about that. So the tree continues to grow. We're going to come back. Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com will join us a little bit about the Jerome Tang hire as well. Anything else? I know, Grayson, you and Jack are getting ready to go to practice as well. Anything about what we have not yet discussed that we need to?
No, we'll get it, especially with Jerome Tang. We'll get it with Tim Fitzgerald. So.
Yep, so Jerome Tang, again, at Kansas State, I was told, or I saw, excuse me, no one told me. Well, somebody did on Twitter. Kansas State announced his press conference in Manhattan will be on March the 24th. Yes, the cake, show number 500 here on Sikkim 365 Radio, and thanks to all of you. Aaron, thank you, Craig, for using me as your NFL news source. Sikkim Bears, Wreckham Tech. Good luck to Tech as the Sweet 16 moves forward as well. Biscuits and gravy, and Scott Drew mentioned this. He was asked about when Jerome Tang came to Baylor, didn't have a degree. So not only was he working hours upon hours upon hours on staff, but also extra hours earning his degree, which he did. And he is as any good as you can be when it comes to being a person. And DAC 3 Productions, we'll get to that question about L.J. Cryer at some point here when we can. Tim Fitzgerald on Kansas State, the reaction in Manhattan to Jerome Tang replacing Bruce Weber, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Bob Mock, the owner of the locations in Waco, Texas, with the one in Belle Meade that delivers to our studio at 101 Elm Avenue. There's one in China Spring. There is one in Woodway, and also one of the newest locations in Robinson, which is great, right off of Loop 340 and Highway 6. And they're building another one in Hewitt, which allows them even better access and efficiency in getting pizzas to you or their product to you, their menu to you in the southern part of Waco, or even on 35 towards Lorena. It's not just pizza. And Pepperoni Magnifico is one we've tried many times. It came out. We love it. It's very good. We like the thin crust large, also all meat pizza. But they also have sandwiches and wings and much, much more. And, of course, if you want, a soft drink delivered to you as well. 4 locations, about to be 5 in Waco or anywhere around the country. You can go to marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Tim Fitzgerald does a great job covering not just Kansas State, but many things, college athletics and sports. Go PowerCat.com. And Tim joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Tim, I know the press conference with Coach Tang is Thursday. Obviously, you've heard a lot maybe from here on what those at Baylor. Scott Drew was on today with a Zoom, and what a lot of us have said, his assistants, et cetera, former players. Thank you for your time, by the way. What has been the reaction in Manhattan, Kansas?
People couldn't be happier. And let's set the backdrop here. People were really set on Brad Underwood coming home. And I know that Kansas State made a push. You know, he's one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball in Illinois, but he's a former player. A Jack Hartman protege came up through that and coached under Frank Martin before heading out into his own career. And that was the guy. That's the guy everyone wanted. But as it became clear that it wasn't going to work, the numbers are so massive. A program like K-State honestly can't pull that off. But they gave it a shot. It all focused immediately on Jerome Tang. He rose out of the ranks of, everyone does their hot boards. And there was Chris Jans and, Grant McCaslin, another Baylor guy. But there were so many good young coaches out there. But it just came back to Jerome Tang. There was something about him that felt right for Kansas State. And I got to be honest, brother, every time we get more information on Jerome Tang, it sounds like even better fit every step of the way. And fans, I haven't seen fans this fired up and this united at Kansas State in a very, very long time. It's pretty cool.
How much do you kind of feel lucky that this was the job? I mean, he's had opportunities in the last couple of years and pause. I mean, UTEP got really far down the road last year.
Yeah, I think what K-Staters appreciated isn't just the fact that he picked them, like it was a kickball team. He picked them. It was the fact that he said he understands K-State's basketball history. So because so many college basketball fans don't understand the incredible legacy of coaches at Kansas State. Jack Gardner, Tex Winter, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Jack Hartman. Then you kind of skip over, you got Lon Kruger and Dane Altman. Then you skip over a couple guys and get Huggins and Martin and Weber. It's pretty incredible. That's the post-World War II history, except for Tom Asbury and Jim Muldridge. And he kind of understands that, and he appreciates Bramlett Coliseum, and he appreciates the tradition and the underlying importance of basketball in Manhattan that has been dormant for so many years. So I think that really gained him a lot of affection in Manhattan, that he kind of understands the culture that he's now joining.
Tim, where do you kind of see the program as far as what kind of shape it's in, not only in terms of the roster and what you know of it right now, and of course because of the portal and everything that could change dramatically in the blink of an eye, but what is Jerome walking into in terms of the roster and also in terms of things like facilities and support and those things?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. We know that there's some players on this K-State team, but they're typically not the kind of players that Tang and Scott Drew would have picked up at Baylor. I mean, they're undersized guards in Nigel Pack and Marquise Noel, but they're going to fit in early. It'll be fascinating to me to see how much of this roster he turns over, because the portal is such a big part now, and we're also seeing some recruits pop back on to the market with other coaching changes. So he's got a lot on his plate. He'll be introduced, Thursday at noon, and I hope to hear some more about, who's going to be on his staff, and they need to get going. Because I think Iowa State has proven that you can turn it around awfully quickly. And that's a lot to ask, because the program the last 3 years has stunk. It really has. This year was the best of the 3 years by far, and they still finished ninth in the conference.
Armstrong, by the way, I just sent you an email. It's an image of a T-shirt that's on on Tim's timeline. We'll put that up in just a second. When we do, Tim, I'll get you to react to it as well. This is awesome. The tree, the Scott Drew tree, with McCaslin, North Texas, Matt Driscoll, Northern Florida, obviously with Paul Mills, the run they made at Oral Roberts a year ago, and now Jerome Tang. And I do think that you kind of get the feeling that he'll bring somebody with him, whether it's somebody that will help with operations and or as an assistant coach or both. Anybody on staff you think that will be there again because they know where all of everything is inside the building?
Yeah, that would be Shane Southwell, former player. He was recruited under Martin, played mostly about half and half under Weber, but then came back to coach under Bruce Weber and has learned a lot from Weber. How's that an interesting two coaches under whom to play? You can get more radically different styles than Martin and Weber. Shane's a young guy, really bright. I never saw him as a head coach until he came back and I saw him operate, and I'm like, this dude's a head coach. But I did a video at Go Powercat. I do daily deliveries about 5 times a week. And, I'm all for Shane staying. I hope he gets to stay, but that's completely up to Jerome Tang. He's the only one that gets to decide that. And I honestly don't know if Shane provides a bridge to the current roster. You just never know what these kids are thinking. But, we've gotten mixed messages that he's got so many guys that he wants on his staff. For a guy that was at one school for 19 years, he knows a lot of people in the profession, and that speaks to how well liked and respected he is. But we've also heard that Shane will indeed stay. We'll see what develops.
Do you think that there are players that would, you mentioned that what Craig asked you, what he's walking into the roster. Do you think that there are players that will leave? Just because, as nice as Jerome is, he's not the guy they came to play for.
Right. And there always is. And that was really the downfall of Bruce Weber basketball was there was always overturn. He went back-to-back recruiting classes, the classes that predated Nigel Pack and Davion Bradford and Selton Miguel, the group that will be juniors next year. Both of those recruiting classes are empty. They're gone. So that's really where the downfall was. So there's been a great deal of overturn at K-State previously, so it won't come as a shock to anyone's system. And honestly, there's some guys that don't belong here. They don't belong at this level. That was also another failing of Bruce Weber. He ended up taking a lot of chances, and he ended up with some guys that were projects, but maybe just too big a projects to actually function on a game-to-game basis in the Big 12.
Tim, Adrian Martinez is now at Kansas State. And if you don't mind, Baylor starts their spring drills today. I don't know the timeline of K-State's already started or about to start, but obviously they have people back from last year's team and Kleiman and what he's trying to build. Your thoughts about what's going to happen there?
Well, it's an interesting fit. There's now 3 former Nebraska players on this K-State roster. And it won't surprise me if after spring football wraps up at all these schools, they pick up another guy. So Adrian Martinez seems to fit in really well, with one exception, the fact that he's injured, still recovering from a shoulder surgery, and isn't really participating in spring football other than those infamous mental reps. But it sounds like he's fit into the locker room, and the receivers are saying you can't believe how well he knows the playbook after showing up, at the start of this semester. So that's a really good sign. It's also a sign that K-State needed a bridge between Skylar Thompson and the young quarterbacks. They got some pretty good young quarterbacks in the system, coming into the system in the next year or two, but they weren't there yet. And Adrian provides a great deal of leadership, and it's going to keep some defensive coordinators awake at night thinking about Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn in the backfield together. Mm-hmm. K-State should be pretty good. If they solidify the middle of the defense, particularly the interior, get some more depth at defensive tackle and some safeties, maybe added in with the portals here late, it's going to be a pretty good K-State team for Chris Kleiman.
Tim, I thought that it was such a good marriage of the two, and that Scott Frost had gotten everything out of Martinez that he was going to get out of him, and whatever new ideas he would have had for him were kind of come and gone and used in that, and they weren't the place for him. And the kind of guy I would want is someone who kind of has a box set of rules for what he expects from his quarterback, like Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, and Adrian came in. He sounds like a pro. He's been through this a lot. There's a lot of media attention in Nebraska, so he's handled that. Guys, it helps that his girlfriend plays soccer at K-State, so that might have been a recruiting advantage K-State had over everyone else, because it was kind of a no-brainer where he was headed. This is a really good addition, not just X's and O's and wins and losses, I think, for the culture of K-State football.
I'm a part of the Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose Award, helped put stats together for that, honoring the best D1 player from the state of Texas. And Deuce Vaughn was one of the finalists this year, being from down in the Austin area. I just haven't talked to him before. I can't, have any bigger, positive remarks. And I know that the folks who dealt with him and Tyler felt the same way. What's it been like covering Deuce Vaughn the past few years, and what kind of an ambassador do you feel like he's been for K-State?
Well, if his dad gets tired of them, I'll adopt him. He is a wonderful kid. He's such a great young man, and he's a great lesson for all of us. Don't let people judge you by your literally shortcomings.
Yeah.
Just be the best you can be, because he uses that to his advantage. We saw it against LSU in the bowl game. He did some things that shouldn't be physically possible. He reminds people a lot of Darren Sproles in these parts, but he's actually smaller than Darren Sproles, which is incredible in itself. Deuce's greatest asset is off the field. He is just a wonderful guy, and been mature beyond his years from day one, playing as a freshman and handling all the media and just being a champ. He's a good kid.
There's an image, you put it up, Tim. You retweeted Lance. I think it's Pufal or Pufal. What?
Yeah.
Here's a shirt that's already available. Put it up if you don't mind, Armstrong, on the screen. It, of course, the color purple, Tang Gang. There you go. I mean, it just like that, and you could on the Twitter. I'm going to retweet it as well, and so it'll be on my Twitter feed. So, yeah, this is fun, and I'm telling you, as much as you think you already like him, wait until you get a chance to hopefully have a chance to work with him. As far as cover him, you're going to love him, Tim. I know you are.
I want him to cook me a meal.
Yeah.
This is something new. And we also have part of the K-State sports Twitter right now is the assistant football coaches are having cook-offs with ribs and, it's unbelievable. And I want to get Coach Tang involved in that, and I want to be a judge. I think I'm qualified for that.
I think you'll have a hard time picking who's got the best, but he can do it. David Kay, he's the I guess, associate athletic director for media communications, mentioned that he had surgery. And Coach Tang had learned how to cook during COVID, called David's wife and said, what's his favorite dessert? Key lime pie. He goes, he tried one. He didn't like the first one he made another one, took it to the K house, and David said it was probably the best key lime pie he had ever eaten. So he even does dessert, which is not good for calorie intake, but at the same time, you guys are going to love him. He's the best, I'm telling you. Thanks for your time, Tim. Appreciate it, and good luck.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate all you do covering the Big 12. You were incredible during the whole realignment expansion thing. And I have talked more about Baylor sports in the last 6 months than I ever imagined I would.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And we will continue to do that, locked in with K-State. And Tim, always great to have you on the show. We appreciate you and also the comments on this show, number 500. When we come back in the 4 o'clock hour, in about 15 or 20 minutes, Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, his thoughts about Jerome Tang moving on, and also a very difficult weekend. They haven't had many of them when it comes to both the men and women being knocked out of the tournament as well. Craig's off the radar in the later part of this coming up hour, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pipe and Steel, welcome to the Pioneer Way. That's what it says on their website, pioneerboys.com. Metal roofing, metal buildings, pipe and steel, the structural standard since 1943. Man, they are just, you talk about resilient, you talk about consistency, loyalty to you, the customer, but also the customer to them. Since 1943, and building a brand new facility in the Waco area. They're also located, the old facility is in Waco, the new one, kind of working on that right now. And then Bryan, also open Monday through Saturday, 8 until noon on Saturday. Heavy duty stuff. Big, bulky material for building, commercial real estate, whatever it might be. And so they'll deliver it, and they'll also unload it if that's what you need. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. They have an unbelievable history of 1943 customer service and also great product. You have both. You have something that can last forever, no matter the ups and downs of the economy or whatever the heck is going on in the world. PioneerBoys.com.
At Allen Samuels, come see the Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 with 2.9% for 72 months, plus $1,500 in bonus cash. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop our huge inventory at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the number room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And a high fly ball belted right center field. There it goes, number 500.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right. 4 o'clock hour will be busy all the way up until 6. Mac Road's around the corner. By the way, he's the one that hired Kelvin Sampson to be the head basketball coach at the University of Houston. They have Arizona coming up next. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Armstrong is right now lonely behind the scenes as Jack and Grayson just headed over to Baylor Open Media as far as getting a chance to watch them do what they do for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I might be a little distracted at times as I'm looking over this roster that was just released, but I will say, as there's some people now that have gathered over at Spring Ball, having walked outside during the commercial break, I bet they're in the indoor. Because the wind is
very Jack Allen there.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I would imagine they're in the indoor. So, but also we got one question answered, and again, I'm going to have to kind of go one by one. But we do know now, based on the roster, Josh Fleeks is listed as a running back.
Good.
on the roster. So the fifth-year senior out of Cedar Hill. I thought, when McGuire went to Texas Tech, if he were going to go poach guys, you have seen him bring in some Cedar Hill players, like several Cedar Hill players to Tech. But I thought Fleeks was maybe a guy that he would look at. And, Josh having not really made a massive impact at this point, I thought, there's a chance that he plays his final year somewhere. But very interesting to see him move from receiver to running back. And I'm very curious to hear more about that and to see more of that as well. So there's just another body in that running back group that's awfully unproven, but he is a dynamic athlete, and I don't think we've seen him scratch the surface of what he's capable of. So maybe this is the year that he does it, but that is one note of interest.
I want to say this, and when Joey McGuire was on staff, when I would ask him on occasion, and again, the access to the assistant coaches depends on times of the year, but I would say he really thought that Josh, and of course he played at Cedar Hill, so there's a connection there, that he would be a guy that would have a breakout year. It didn't happen. 2020, we know the offense was just abysmal, and last year didn't happen either. You saw on occasion, and you wonder, just putting him at that position and letting him go. And he is obviously a dynamic player, and there's other players who are dynamic, but because of who they have lost, and they have a lot of players coming back, not things, but at the same time, they need Josh Fleeks or Gavin Holmes or Presley, who's a dynamic player out of high school that went to Auburn. There was another wide receiver you mentioned, is a kid, Jalen Ellis. Some of those players must step up, and they have that ability. And now just take advantage of their opportunities. And Grayson, again, posted that up on the site and also up on his Twitter page. I just retweeted that also as well. So, yeah, and here's one of the things, and I got to admit that's not my strength right there, digging through the roster. There may be a name or two that miss. I wouldn't know, unless it was like obviously an All-American or a All-Conference type player coming back. So Grayson's there, Jack is there, and an open workouts and media session coming up after practice today. Dave Aranda and selected selected players as well.
Yeah, that wide receiver position is interesting, though, because, there was a lot of excitement, in that Matt Rule signing class with a lot of those guys, or the two classes about that, and none of them have done a thing yet. And so, it's I'm not trying to cast aspersions here, but right now they appear to have whiffed on all of them. And, there's sure time, but so far, none of them have stepped up and made. You look around teams around the country, there's usually a sophomore or freshman wide receiver who's making some kind of an impact, especially on good teams like Baylor had last year, a really great team, and that just was not the case. So it's very much an outlier.
And one wide receiver, or a couple of them, Grayson Grunefer I think I can say this because it's posted, but Jackson Gleason's not on the roster. Tyler Henderson's not on the roster. Again, he's been hit with a lot of different injuries.
Yeah.
Jonah White, we knew about that. Dakota Doyle Robinson.
What did we know about Jonah White?
I thought I had seen where he was not going to play again. Maybe that was something that I thought I saw.
Maybe that was on the message boards. I missed that.
But those are names that Grayson posted that he did not see, at least on the roster that was released today as they've opened up spring drills. So that's that as well. I don't see anybody else. And then, some of the questions, expected or interesting developments. I know Tyler's mother, Sheila. She's, of course, the former AD at Marlin that had the great run this year. And I think she's retiring. And so I'll ask her about where Tyler might be or what his plans might be as well. Didn't get to play much.
Tyler, I'm not surprised by. Dakota Doyle Robinson has not been around very long, so that's surprising. Jonah White, I hadn't seen any of that scuttlebutt before. It's just probably simply I just missed it on the boards one day, but I wasn't aware of that one. And then Jackson Gleason, wasn't necessarily expecting that, but I'm also, I guess, not surprised by that either because he hadn't really made much of a dent at this point.
Thought he was going to be like that slot receiver. We saw him in high school. Remember at South Lake Carroll? He did have great speed to get deep. We saw him in a playoff game we did against Midway, but it just never worked out. It just never did work out.
Well, here's the deal with the wide receivers. There is no excuses this year. There is playing time galore for these wide receivers. So you got your top three guys. I think I mentioned this in my article. If you don't count like tight ends, and I'm going to forget it now, but basically if you take out the running backs and tight ends from the receiving game, the leading receiver for Baylor And also the caveat was Josh Fleeks moving to running back. So now we know that he has. So you can eliminate him. So take out the running backs and the tight ends and the wide receivers that we know have moved on. Do you know who Baylor's leading wide receiver right now is?
I'm going to say Ben Sims.
Well, no, you have to take him out.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Jalen Ellis?
Hal Presley, 1 catch, 15 yards last season. That is their leading receiver returning. 1 catch, 15 yards. Now, Ben Sims is technically their leading receiver at tight end, but that's what I'm saying is there's no experience practically in that wide receiver room, almost zero.
That's why you have spring drills in the transfer portal that might help, And I think Hal Presley, based on what he was out of high school, yes, he was at Auburn, came back, he has a chance to be dynamic for them, and they have that opportunity if he's ready to take advantage of it.
But what I'm also saying is that if you're a receiver on Baylor's roster and you're complaining about playing time, go look in the mirror because the playing time is there. Like if anybody's complaining about playing time, you got right now through the next month, and then you got fall camp. And if you don't see the field, then quite honestly, that's on you because they are looking for wide receivers. They need them. They have to have them. And there's nobody that's just an automatic right now. I mean, that's why I brought up earlier with Grayson, Armani Winfield being an early enrollee this spring. I mean, he could, in theory, earn himself some true freshman playing time because there's so much time available. Now, they do have some guys who maybe statistically we didn't see all that much of, but we're out there blocking and doing things like that. But, I mean, that's another area. Are they going to be able to block as well as, Tyquan Thornton was able to at times or R.J. Sneed? That's an overlooked part of a receiver's game, but that was something that was certainly really effective for them last year in helping Abram Smith in the run game get going at times. So, yeah, there's a new coach, Dallas Baker. So there's a lot of just up in the air right now with the wide receivers, and not necessarily in a bad way, just in a we don't really know much way.
Yeah, Dallas Baker can legitimately use the excuse no, I didn't watch much of them on film. There wasn't much to watch.
No.
I mean, you can get done in about 40 minutes, really, because, again, it's all blocking. It's not there. That's going to be interesting to see whoever the quarterback is and who can establish those things because it is brand new at that position. It's mostly brand new at running back, too. I mean, really,
It's the way it is. There are very few programs. You're going to lose either a lot of offensive linemen. The next year it might be a lot. You have the defensive line a bunch back. You have the quarterbacks are back, and then you don't have any wide receiver depth, or you don't have any production coming back, or you might have no offensive line, but all running backs are back. It's just the way it is.
Well,
not very many teams are perfect.
They finally flipped it, though. I would rather be in the situation of I have 6 open spots at wide receiver and running back, and 1 open spot on the offensive line than the other way around.
Yeah,
for what it's worth, Blake Shapen is out there. By the way, he's in a quarterback jersey, the orange jersey, but Blake Shapen is out there.
All right, Travis Reeder also has a story up in the Sikkim 365.com section, a premium section of what he sees as they open up spring drills as well. So that's what's going on. Also on the text line, and then we take a break from Mac. I'm a big Oklahoma and Oklahoma State fan and Kansas Jayhawks fan. Chris from Oklahoma. I have Kansas Jayhawks beating Duke in the national championship game. Can you talk about the Jayhawks again, Chris from Oklahoma? That's an interesting little group of fans of OU, Oklahoma State, and Kansas. If Remy Martin, which is what Paul's been saying from before the tournament began, if Remy Martin continues to play the way he has played, then Kansas, of course, has a tremendous chance to advance and win the national championship.
What I would worry about if I were Providence, on the one, I mean, look, maybe the good news is that Ochai Agbaji and Christian Brown are in a cold streak. But if they can win and Ochai Agbaji and Christian Brown don't play like they did against Creighton, and knowing that that's not their statistical, they're kind of on their statistical floor. If those 3 guys are hitting their ceiling all in one game, holy cow, Kansas can score a lot of points.
When we come back, Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on for over 20 years here in Central Texas, and they're celebrating a birthday right now over at Richard Carr. They're also celebrating getting you into a brand new or used vehicle right now as well. They've got a lot of great deals, and in particular, in this market, it's been incredibly hard to come by some new vehicles, much less used vehicles as well. Well, the good news is that Richard Carr does have both, but in terms of getting a new vehicle, the best way to go about doing so as quickly as possible is to get on their inbound vehicle list. You can get your new car or truck as soon as they arrive by signing up to Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. For qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now, get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. And as summer vacation season approaches, Richard Carr has 11 different SUV models from the Buick, GMC, and Cadillac brands to choose from. They also have dozens of trim options on those 11 models as well. And they are a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs. Starting at $24K, call now, come by now, or go online to find the right SUV for your family this summer. And I mentioned pre-owned earlier. Well, they are loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. Each of them goes through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and there's over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you into a car today, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by the dealership for a test drive today. It's anniversary month at Richard Carr. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Jack and Grayson are both at football spring drills. There's a little opening there as they've opened up practice, and eventually Dave Aranda players will be available. We'll be a part of that, of course, and we've discussed that quite a bit this first hour. Show number 500, and about 75 of those shows have included Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes. 75 days he'll never be able to get back because of the time he spent with us. Mack, we appreciate your support from the time we launched this in April of 2020. How you do? I know it's not been a great week. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be part of it. And even though there've been some days that you haven't necessarily wanted me on, but nonetheless, I'm happy to be on. So, but no, appreciate you guys, and I always look forward to Tuesday afternoon.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time and access as well. Was there a part of you Sunday evening or waking up Monday morning when you kind of looked around like that picture of Will Smith in an empty house, even though there's still a lot going on, going, wait a minute, what happened here?
Yeah, both of those, both games, stung. As you would expect. You think about the men's game, and I think we were down 25 with 10:04, 10:08. I don't remember the exact time left, and be able to just come back and get it to overtime, right? You think that once you get it to overtime, you've got the opportunity to win it, and it almost just feels cruel emotionally to go through all of that and still come up, on the wrong end of it. And then, the women, Sunday night, and again, just, had spurts where you thought you were going to, get it close, get it down to 5 or 4 and make it really, really close at the end, and just could never get there. And so that was obviously a battle, but, nonetheless, I'm proud. And, I know it's easy to say that, but I'm really proud of both programs. I had, several people text me and check up on me and make sure I was doing okay, and those people know who they are, and I certainly appreciate those text messages and reaching out. But I responded. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be in the locker rooms of with both programs after a really difficult loss for each, and just the way that both Scott and Nikki handled it with the team, with the staff. The things that were said, the culture that was in that locker room, the love and care for each other. It was, I don't know, it just gave me a great sense of peace. And it just, just reaffirmed for me that, man, both programs are in such great shape, and they're going to be nationally relevant for years and years to come. And so just really, really, really proud. And I know the disappointment we all have, and it's, difficult to deal with, but there's also that peace knowing that, hey,
not going to be the last time either one of those programs compete for a national championship.
Mac, your thought? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Your thoughts on Jerome Tang? It's got to be, I mean, I would assume the ultimate level of bittersweet, and that here is someone who has by far earned a head coaching job at the Division I level, and when he finally takes one, you're going to see him at least twice a year, potentially 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, so, again, as you can imagine, right, I think we all are. The entire Baylor family is so happy for Jerome and proud for him, and again, happy for him and Ray and Seven and Island, and so well deserved. And I'm going to be excited to see him in that role, his own program. I think I'm going to start writing in coaches' contracts that they cannot be head coaches in our own. Man. To have Joey that we're going to have to now compete against, and now Jerome. But hey, that's the ultimate compliment to our athletics program and to certainly football and men's basketball. But yeah, I'm just happy for him, and he's going to surround himself. Jerome gets it and understands it. He's going to surround himself with some great people, and I know, some of the staff members that are people that will be joining him, and he's going to be off and running, and he's going to do a great job at K-State, and they'll be in postseason with him as their head coach.
So Mac, you guys a couple years ago. Maybe a little bit further back, you guys were clearly the part of the Hunters. I mean, there was some success, women's basketball, men's basketball, but I mean, really the last couple of years, you guys have become the Hunted, and what you're doing is attractive to other schools. Like you mentioned, Tech wants to come get Joey McGuire. Kansas State wants to come get Jerome Tang, and I'm sure there's been other conversations. How do you guys keep, this identity that you've created, but continue to also evolve it, and how much of a battle is that? And also, not have it as simply as somebody can just copy and paste what you guys do by hiring a coach or having a catchphrase or whatever. How do you guys keep evolving and keeping it specifically individually your Baylor identity?
Yeah, it's a great question, Craig, and I think we talked about it a little bit last time. But I think it starts with our culture and just being really, really intentional about it, and it's something that you have to work on every day, and it takes a lot of conversations, sometimes some difficult or crucial conversation, but it's always in progress, always in process. It's this idea of having a constant feedback with your colleagues, with your student athletes, and so that's a big part of it. And then I think remaining humble and almost having the mentality, Craig, that we've not done anything. I get that we've been really, really successful the last 2 years, but I think we need to treat it that we're still chasing, and I think as long as we have that mentality that we're still chasing, we're not at the mountaintop, but we're still climbing and fighting, scratching, and clawing. I think we'll continue to be relevant, and I think the great coaches, doesn't matter how many national championships they've won, they find a way to continue to do that, and we as an athletic department need to make sure that we continue to do that, and that all of our coaches and student athletes, staff, we all understand that. And and that's hard, because I think sometimes when you do that, you forego celebration and enjoying the moment and maybe the accomplishment. And so trying to balance that, just to be really, really frank, is really difficult to do. And I don't know that we do a great job of the celebration piece, and that's probably on me, because I think we're always in this mode of trying to chase and evolve and always be better. And I believe that we can always be better, always.
What is easier, getting to at least? They say that the term is not so much the top of the mountain. You did in men's basketball, and of course, women have had their history as well among some other sports or athletic events you have. But what is easier in your opinion? You ever thought about, is it easier to get there, or is it harder to get there or harder to stay there?
I appreciate the question, and it's one that has been asked a lot, and I think probably most would say it's harder to stay there. I would just say both are dang hard. They really are. And I think quite frankly, they require the same mindset. And again, while you're trying to get there, right, you're chasing, you're fighting, scratching, clawing, you're adjusting, tweaking. But I think once you get there, you have to have that same exact mentality. Because I believe if you don't, you're going to end up getting caught. Somebody's going to end up chasing you down. And then I think where it gets really, really hard is if you get chased down, how do you then, chase back and get ahead? And so, we're always gonna treat it that there's just so much more out there for us, and that we're gonna continue to chase and act and perform and behave like we've never reached the top.
Baylor Baylor Athletic Director Mack Rhodes with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Mac, spring drills have begun. Speaking of getting to the top or getting where you were, winning the Big 12 title and also the Sugar Bowl as well, a couple of different coaching changes, always competition at various positions. How about the timing of, especially after the weekend you had, that spring drills comes up that kind of gives some life back into what other was a tough couple of days?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I appreciate you framing it that way, because it's great medicine. I'm sitting here in my office and I'm looking out the window over the practice fields and I'm watching the team out there going through a variety of drills and the whistles are blowing and you can hear the coaches. I'm not going to say yelling and screaming, but talking loudly. And so it's good medicine to see that. And, I'll be able to get on out to more of the spring competition, which is awesome as well to be able to watch baseball and softball and, acrobatics and tumbling and track and field. We'll have certainly a couple of home events, and so looking forward to all of that. But it's great to see football out there and beginning spring practice.
Going back to what you were discussing with Jerome Tang, did I hear you say of some who might be going with him? Is that something that is known yet?
Yeah, I appreciate you seeking clarity. I don't know that anybody from our staff will join him. I think that still remains to be seen. My gut is that probably not, and if so, maybe a person. But I was speaking more about just coaches from other programs that I know are going to join him, and I know a couple of them at least, and I just know those are really good people, and he's putting together a staff that I think is going to be really, really good, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's able to go out and do that, and that's certainly part Kansas State and resources, but it's more about Jerome Tang, the person, and people believing in him and wanting to work for him or with him.
How about Kelvin Sampson, back to the Sweet 16, someone that you believed in after he had been through some tumultuous times, and last year a Final Four, lost to Baylor in the semis up in Indianapolis, but here he is again with a roster he himself had that was depleted.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, and when we talk about that mentality, always chasing, never taking the foot off the gas pedal. That's Kelvin, and that's why they've been consistently successful. I think he's as good as there is, and I mean this in all sincerity. If I had to rank coaches in this country, Scott Drew would be number one, and Kelvin Sampson would be number two. And those are, Scott is the best of the best, and Kelvin's, right there behind him. And I'm happy for Kelvin, and certainly happy for Houston.
We asked you about divisions in the Big 12. Once it becomes whatever it's going to be, whether it includes Texas and Oklahoma with the new four, when that happens, perhaps by 2023. And we know Brigham Young will join at that particular time, maybe the others. Has there been any at all? Anyone put down this would be you've discussed whether you like divisions or not, and that kind of is up in the air. Has there been any discussion about if there are divisions, this is what they'll be?
That's a great question, and we certainly have circulated some different ideas, and how you could break it up into divisions, and what institutions would be in what divisions, and so I think we'll probably get to a place in time where we have some formality, and I don't know a public announcement, but sometime later in the spring, I would guess. So it's still a work in progress, and I know you all understand it's not anything that we're going to discuss publicly yet, because again it's still a work in progress, and still different ideas circulating and analysis to follow.
Mac, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Go Scouts Blake Shapen and Gary Bohannon in that quarterback room as well.
Oh, believe me, that's where I'm headed. So,
thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Mac Rhodes, Baylor's Director of Athletics. And so, Craig, you had mentioned something about the possibility of divisions, whether there's anything that's on paper. Doesn't appear to be, but obviously they at least have to discuss it going forward, whether it's with 14 or 12 teams, or eventually the eventual 12 outside of Texas and Oklahoma, vice versa. And so that's at least an interesting nugget from Mac Rhodes.
He didn't really clear too much up other than they're still discussing it. But the main reason why I brought it up off the air earlier was because there was an account, I think it was Cowpoke U, and he said it took until this morning to notice something, but looking at the layout of teams top and bottom, and he was pointing to a BYU graphic poster that they had up, I guess, in one of their facilities. I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but it was a picture of this graphic and on the wall at some BYU facility, and it's got all 10 new Big 12 teams lined up, and it's got BYU, Baylor, Iowa State, K-State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State on the front row, or on the top row, and then TCU, Tech, West Virginia, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston on the bottom row. and this Cowpoke U account, at Cowpoke_U. So there, I gave you your credit, and if people want to go check it out there. But he said, took until this morning to notice something, but look at the layout of teams top and bottom. I'm pretty sure BYU football accidentally leaked the new Big 12 divisions here, and then said he couldn't be more excited. So that's what he's going off of, or they're going off of. And, then there were some others that pointed out, well, like, technically it's still sort of kind of alphabetical if you count this school that way, BR for BYU, like that whole deal. But maybe it was just that's the way they put them together. I don't know. But you can look at it as having been done alphabetically. You can look at it as BYU putting themselves first on the list. Like, I don't know. I for all we know, this could be an accidental leak of the divisions, but it also could just be the random order that they put on a poster inside their facilities. So that's just what got me kind of kicking it around in my head.
Yeah, there's someone who's a Brigham Young fan that that just mentioned that
that's
as
what
well.
I'm talking about right
Cougar
there.
Sports fan. Yeah,
so maybe they got it from another place. That's a different account that's posting it, and it's a bigger picture. So never mind Cowpoke U. Maybe this is the actual one because this is the full picture from this other person.
Yeah, it's Brigham Young. It's a big board in the Brigham Young Power 5 football, and it's got Brigham Young pictures on it and various other images, and it's got the names of the schools and also the logos to the right of the Big 12 Conference. And again, whether it's Brigham Young's not alphabetically ahead of Baylor.
We just got our answer, though, that it's not divisions.
What he also said is they probably have discussed it, and we might see something if they do release by the end of the spring. One other note about this, and a couple of you, Andrea, and also Biscuits and Gravy on Mac Rhodes, and I heard that when he said something about anyone who also might be joining Coach Tang at Kansas State, and so I followed up to get clarity, and his response was, I asked him about clarifying if anyone from Baylor would leave, and if one or two did, it would not be a surprise, but his response was, I don't think there will be anyone from our staff who will join him. My gut feeling says maybe there might be one, but I'm speaking more about those who will join Coach Tang's staff from other programs, and some of them I know very well.
Well, yeah, you heard Tim Fitzgerald say earlier, look, the guy knows every coach in the country now, Jerome Tang does, and, there's going to be people that want to work for him. I can't imagine him being anything less than an excellent boss.
Earlier today, I mentioned the text that came from, I believe, from Oklahoma, the 405, about being a fan of Oklahoma State, and also from Kansas, asked us about Kansas. And they got clarification. My mom and dad, Regina and Steve Hall, have been taking care of COVID patients at our Oklahoma Medical Center hospital in Oklahoma City. I'm thinking about going to Kansas or Baylor to be a doctor. Chris from Oklahoma, 23-year-old who's still trying to figure out. He just found us today on YouTube and subscribe to us today. Chris, good luck with your future.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for reaching out, and God bless your mom and dad for the work that they're doing as well.
Yeah, shout out to you, Chris. Best of luck, man, and stay in touch. Did you have another text you were holding back, or you holding that back for a reason? You had one earlier that you were bringing up, and then you said you were holding it back. I just want to make sure we don't wait too long on somebody. Okay.
Yeah, Glenn from Baylor, 88 Bear. Congrats on the 500. Side note, I used to follow you guys at the old place. It was a long distance, so there's a lot of scatter. Great to have you now where you are. You're the best. Thank you. Very happy where you are at now because of the fact you could pick us up on more than one platform, and we appreciate that. And Robert Beekler, who's the one that joined us at Railhead, and that's one of the things I wanted to say, and we got to take a break for Off the Radar. One of the things about when we started this about 2 years ago, 40-some years in the business, the feedback, meeting and getting to know the audience, the last 2 years, almost as much as pretty much almost all the other 38.
Yeah.
Because of perhaps the YouTube part of it, I don't know.
The only thing I'm a little disappointed in Robert is he says he can't listen to us during surgery because it's distracting.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell?
But, I mean, like...
Don't doctors have like Mozart or Beethoven or heavy metal?
We're at least as educational as Mozart.
Yeah, and then also the clarity we got in Biscuits and Gravy and Andrea thanking us for that. And then also, Joe, do you all like the division thing right now as long as Texas and Oklahoma are still in the mix? I want that after they've left. And that's something we can discuss later. But Craig's Off the Radar. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I've told you about Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental. There have been 2 occasions in the last, I'm going to say less than a year, in which I've had a tooth one lower right molar, one upper left. And then, what was it, 2 or 3 months ago or so, all of a sudden my left upper molar, same thing happened. And guess what? I walked in on a Friday morning, which for a dentist office is just not a very smart thing to do because they're crammed and they probably do like to leave just a little bit early to get to the weekend. Not just the dentist, but also the staff. And guess what? He found a way. He found a way. That's the kind of customer service. And by the way, both times, the pain was relieved and stuff just felt better. Stonewood Dental, where you will get a professional staff, dentist, and also others, hygienists. They are fantastic. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local.
The Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton. It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim365.com. Taking a look at some stories outside of our normal discussions and maybe some things that would be a part of it, but just an opportunity for 15 or so minutes here to kind of focus in on some other stories that don't require a full-blown segment. And Armstrong, I sent you a tweet to have available, and I want to start off with the big controversy today in college sports. You might think that it has to do with name, image, likeness, or have to do with recruiting, or have to do with one of those types of things. But instead, one of the biggest topics today is the new Vanderbilt logo that they unveiled. Vanderbilt deciding to come up with a new logo, and there it is right there. There's the brand new V logo. Now, you might remember Vanderbilt had a logo where the V was different, and it was also within the star. Right? They had the star logo. There's the old logo right there. Thank you, Armstrong. There's the old logo, and then the new logo that they debuted today. So they're getting toasted, roasted, and that's social media. Like, you could come out with the coolest uniform ever, and like 100 people are going to tell you it sucks. But what do you think? Vandy trading in the old for the new. So far, public opinion is not in favor of the new logo switch.
Yeah, I having no feeling for Vanderbilt at all.
Yes.
I mean, it's fun. Looks like a nice V. I don't know. I mean, I feel
what's the complaint?
It's very generic. It's very simple. Like, even if you just included the star, people are like, "Well, keep the V, but keep the star as well." But it's just it's an example of another company, corporation, college, just basically making it as clean and simple and, whatever design-wise.
Nike or Adidas,
Baylor went through it here a long time ago, and it got the president of the university fired that he wanted to change the logo. So this can be a big deal, although
they went through it recently. Remember, Jovan was a part of that, and people didn't like it initially. And then they didn't like the uniforms. But then they liked to like them.
But the logo, the interlocking BU stayed. When Baylor, years ago, tried to get rid of the interlocking BU, and it did not go over well. It was very controversial. To me, it's not like they're doing a disservice to the namesake of this university, a robber baron named Cornelius Vanderbilt. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was just curious.
I wonder what the people who went to Vanderbilt would think. How much of the complaints are?
I think that's
that's
probably a pretty good number of the people talking about it.
A lot of people just don't like change.
All the ones I know, several people who went to Vanderbilt, which is an excellent school. You know what they do? They're stand-up comedians. So they're not exactly just running that.
You don't go to Vanderbilt to become a stand-up comedian.
They're great stand-up comedians.
Wow, okay.
They're great. So
now here's the catch for everybody that was complaining, like, oh my God, there's always more information. Is there not?
Yes.
There's always more information. So according to the university, these new logos will be phased in immediately, but they will not be on the athletics uniforms in the fall the fall of 2023. So you're going to see the same old Vandy this upcoming season in terms of the logo. The logo will be incorporated over the next few years into athletics facilities as is feasible, and the Block V logo will become the new primary logo rather than the old Star V. However, they're going to redesign the Star V and still use that on some merchandise and things like that. So just anyways, I'm always interested when teams kind of change up their logo, and I just somehow stumbled upon, I hadn't seen the Star logo with the new V, and I don't like it. I really don't. That's not a hot take, but I really don't like this one. I hadn't seen this just yet, but the actual V with the star behind it. So anyways, there's Vanderbilt's new logo, and that's been a typical.
You don't like that one right there?
Yeah, I didn't send this one to Armstrong because I didn't know it existed yet. I hadn't seen this one, but it's basically that same new V and then just an outline of a star in various colors
almost like it's wrapped around the shoulders of the star. I like the white one better than the black one.
Yeah, there you go. There's the one with the actual star. Sorry, I didn't know about that one until a second ago.
No, it's not bad.
Is that Times New Roman?
No,
okay,
it's
better. But we'll start seeing that incorporated in the fall of 2023. Now, name, image, likeness. There was a story that we did not talk about from a few days ago, and I don't know. I know on my end it was because I simply forgot about it because I either saw it late at night or I saw it too early in the weekend to remember. But did you guys happen to see the story that was going around a few days ago about Tennessee football and the package, the offer that apparently they had put together of $8 million a deal for an unnamed recruit?
I didn't know it was Tennessee. I just saw that a college had done this.
Well, actually, it was an undisclosed school, to be fair. It was an undisclosed school paying a recruit or signing them to a deal, an unnamed recruit, unnamed school, unnamed term, terms on the whatever this person apparently signed. But the one, I guess, fact to it was that it was apparently worth up to $8 million. And this came out a couple of weeks ago. And immediately that led everybody to start going like, who is it? Who's this guy that Tennessee's trying to pay $8 million? And people basically narrowed it down to one player in particular, and he is a star quarterback recruit. And it just so happens that Nico Iamaleava, and hopefully that's as close as accurate as possible, Nico Iamaleava has committed as of yesterday morning to play in Knoxville. Number 3 ranked prospect in the class, 6'5", 195, a great arm, obviously, as well. He announced his commitment to Tennessee on Monday, and he's a very intriguing athlete. A lot of schools were in on him. He had just recently visited Tennessee for a second time before just going ahead and pulling the trigger. So it's a big get for Josh Heupel, but he is the guy that people have assumed and pegged as being the $8 million. I use air quotes because we've seen reports like this that are totally bogus, but he is reportedly assumed to be the $8 million recruit that Tennessee, who was the unnamed school, that's the 2 and 2 that people are putting together.
My question to these people who've done this is that there are professional athletes that make $8 million that you've seen play at the professional level that are overpaid at $8 million. There is not a 17-year-old kid in this country playing high school football. Not one worth $8 million yet, because you don't know.
It's NIL, baby.
Nothing to argue with.
It's money for all, and so the initial report had come
good
from
for him. But
absolutely.
I just wonder
absolutely if that's who it is, and that's the school that it was. But a lot of people have already. It's kind of like that A&M recruiting report from they tried to knock. Oh, we didn't spend $30 million on our. It's kind of like one of those types of reports. So you don't really quite know, but you kind of assume that you do. But yeah, Nico Iamaleava is now the Tennessee star quarterback commit. That's a big get for them, regardless of what he's making or not. But I hope that one day if it's not him and it's not Tennessee, I hope we do get that peeled back at some point in time. But that's just a little update on NIL. The fact that there is a quarterback recruit signing a deal worth up to $8 million. So where do we go 5 years from now? Where are we? We in the 20s? We in the 20s?
I have no idea. You'll be a farm team for the Bengals, or you'll be attached to the Cowboys, or
Yep, Buckeyes will be a feeder system for the Bengals or something like that, I guess. But speaking
of
the
Bengals will be a feeder system for Ohio State.
Possibly. But that was of interest, and also of interest as far as that goes, and whether or not that's all accurate remains to be seen, and will be seen at some point, I'm sure. But Lane Kiffin, he knows Tennessee very well, obviously. He also had some comments about the $7 to $8 million reported deal for a 2023 quarterback recruit, and he had some comments that came the day after Iamaleava committed to Tennessee. So that report in The Athletic had come out a couple of weeks ago, and everybody was, very big and blah, blah, blah all over it. And Iamaleava is a California guy, so they just keep pumping out the 5-star quarterbacks in California. But Lane Kiffin was talking on Tuesday as the Rebs got their spring practices underway, and he just commented on NIL. I've obviously said a lot about NIL from the beginning of it. Let's make sure that we understand. I love that the players are getting paid, and I just say how it is. I guess I got called a clown before for saying how it is. NIL has a lot to do with where players go, and to not think that is crazy. Literally, it would be like being a head coach in the NFL, signing a great free agency class of players, going out and getting these great players and coming up here and saying to you guys the contracts had nothing to do with the players coming here, and they just wanted to come play for me. So obviously it has a lot to do with where players go, and it should. Everybody wants 17 to 18-year-old adults to choose job, or everybody wants 17 to 18-year-olds. Adults choose jobs a lot of time for money, salaries, so why would a kid not? So there was Lane Kiffin on name, image, and likeness, and just always kind of curious to get his thoughts.
He's not lying.
No. And he's not saying anything controversial.
No.
It's kind of like the world today where it's like, I'm afraid I'm going to upset 2 people. And it's like, of course players are picking schools for money. Are we stupid? Why are we lying to ourselves?
Lane Kiffin is only controversial in that regard, in that he's been controversial in the past, and his mouth hole is saying something, so people assume, like, oh, it's controversial. Like, no, he's just...
Sometimes he says things that make a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I think he's absolutely right about NIL, and I think we're seeing that more and more. Contract with Minnesota. Also, you mentioned earlier SMU men's basketball coach Tim Jankovic, who we just had on as a guest a couple weeks ago, just for those who may have missed it, did announce his retirement as well. And I know we got to run, so I guess I'll just leave it there for now.
Get one more in.
No, that's all right.
Okay. All right. Randy Peterson covers Iowa State, the basketball team. Has been one of the great surprises. St. Peter's gets a lot of attention for their run, but Iowa State, from 2 wins last year to being in the Sweet 16 this year, it's incredible. And Randy Peterson for the Des Moines Register will join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Long pass. Hunter breaks it up. Johnny Davis fires from the corner. Misses. And it is over. From 2 wins a year ago to the second weekend of the dance.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Sweet 16, of course, starts back up on Thursday. NCAA March Madness, Big 12 with 3 teams left. Kansas, a number 1 seed. Texas Tech, a 3 seed. And how about Iowa State? 2 wins last year, Sweet 16 this year, and a team that was unbeaten before they opened up Big 12 play against Baylor. And, yeah, there were some ups and downs, but look where they are. Randy Peterson covers Iowa State for the Des Moines Register, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig, Paul, and David Smoak. Randy, did you have any inkling that they were about to launch into this? Did you see anything that gave you hope that Iowa's, not hope, but thought that they could get to this point?
Sure I did. He said laughing.
Yeah.
In jest. No, not at all. I saw maybe 8 or 9 wins. I mean, and I'm talking about mostly non-conference wins and possibly picking up at Kansas State in the during the Big 12 season, but my guys, to go 15-0 against non-conference opponents. Let's just start there. I mean, and that's not playing. They're not playing a bunch of little sisters of the poor. They played pretty good non-conference competition, competition, including beating Iowa by 20 right here. Iowa right here in our state by 20. So it's been an incredible ride. My golly. No, I didn't see this coming whatsoever. With 6 new players, including a true freshman point guard, and there's not many of those around anymore. Guys that didn't even know each other in June. When they came to campus in June, they didn't know each other. I mean, this is I don't know what it is. It's incredible, the job that TJ Otzelberger and his staff have done.
Randy, when the Big 12 season started, and they the conference record was what it was. Did you think that when the tournament got started, like maybe they'd run it at gas, and should we have maybe looked back to that non-conference with how they match up with teams that don't live in the Big 12?
I honestly thought they'd run out of gas, without question, and I was wrong. I remember asking TJ about it a couple times during press conferences. I was curious about his level of concern for the team possibly, like you said, running out of gas because the identity of this team is defense. Lord knows they can't shoot straight. So it's the defense that's carried this team. And when you play defense, you guys know this. You've been around the game as long as I have, almost. You expend more energy playing defense than you do scoring. But these guys have played hard defense throughout the season, and I just was curious about them running out of gas, but they haven't. They absolutely have not run out of gas. It's almost like they've got second wind during this tournament run. They stunk up the place in the Big 12 tournament, but then against LSU they looked fantastic. Against Wisconsin in an arena in Milwaukee that was 90% Wisconsin fans, they pushed and shoved and out physicaled a physical Wisconsin team, and throughout the game got them so flustered that they were discombobulated with their offense. So yeah, I thought this team would run out of gas, but man, it hasn't. And like I said, they've got second wind now. They're certainly not going to run out of gas on Friday or even after that.
TJ Otzelberger, I mean, you mentioned a bit there, their defense and all of that, but how is he just able to come in and so quickly flip this thing? I mean, what are the intangibles? What was it about his mentality and just the design of this program that allowed them to be able to flip that switch the way they did?
Jamie Pollard, the athletic director, knew that this team was going to need a makeover. I mean, and players were leaving right and left. There a lot of players left the program after Steve Prohm got fired after going 2-22. And TJ was at Iowa State as an assistant for Fred Hoiberg. He was an assistant for Greg McDermott, and he was an assistant under Prohm for a year. Under Hoiberg, TJ was one of the top two, was maybe the top recruiter on the team. That's about the time the transfer portal became a thing, and TJ became a master of the transfer portal with Fred. So he every transfer that TJ recruited back working with Hoiberg, and even in his first season with Prohm, they all did something. They all panned out. And so TJ knows his way around that transfer portal. He knows exactly what he's looking for. I was talking to Lon Kruger the other day, the former Oklahoma coach, great coach, future Hall of Famer. I was talking to Lonnie yesterday, and he told me he said that the fact that TJ learned that TJ knows what to look for when he goes into the portal. You're maybe not looking for the greatest player. He said some guys go into the portal. Some coaches go to the portal looking for the greatest player. TJ's looking for the greatest fit. Mm-hmm. He wants a guy that can play defense. He wants a guy that going to buy into Iowa State culture. He wants a guy that's going to be a good person on and off the field. He wants or on and off the court. He wants somebody that's good in the community, somebody personable, somebody that can, like I said, I think that can play defense. that fits the culture of what Iowa State is, and TJ knows that better than anybody, having been there and having his wife's a former Iowa State All-American. So TJ knew. So Lonnie or Coach Kruger was telling me that TJ knew how to work the transfer portal in that respect, and he knew exactly what he wanted, and he got him. And these guys. There's not been one iota, one speck of trouble, one speck of jealousy with these guys. They've been all in. They've been all for one, and everybody's bought into the philosophy of playing defense.
You know, you just mentioned, and I'm not trying to say this because it's worked. Fit, culture, character, community, reason, personable, and defense. That's really how Scott Drew and Baylor have become successful. It's exactly like the formula. Now, it may not work for everybody. UT, which made a nice run, lost, of course, in a tough game to Purdue, and a team that was highly ranked to start the year. They had a bunch of guys come in. Some of them played well, but maybe not all throughout that. Not saying they weren't good kids, but it may not have been a fit or what they could do. And they were good, but Iowa State, what they done, they got beat. They scored 36 against Oklahoma State, crushed by Tech to close out the year by 31. This is almost not miraculous, but it's just hard to fathom, and I'm happy for them. No question about it, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it shows you how tough it shows you how good the Big 12 is. We all know, we all read the analytics. You know, we've all heard coaches 1 through 10 of all the coaches in the Big 12 say the Big 12 is the toughest conference in the United States. You know, you never really know it until you go out there and play it. But for Iowa State to go 15-0 against non-conference competition, and like I said a little while ago, it was pretty good non-conference competition. It made the Iowa States and everybody else in the Big 12. Once you play outside the conference, these teams don't, in Iowa State's respect at least, these opponents Iowa State was playing, LSU and Wisconsin in the first 2 rounds, they saw on defense, they saw on film the kind of defense on video, the kind of defense that Iowa State was playing. But where it's help side defense is off the charts good. They double team everything, on ball defense is great. But they didn't experience the tenacity that Iowa State plays it with until you actually face them. And once you face them, it was different. And while the Big 12 opponents have a book on each other, the non-conference opponents did not have a book on Iowa State. And so that's whether they pulled off whether they were a surprise team or whatever you want to say it. That's all well and good. It worked and it's carried Iowa State into the Sweet 16.
A couple of those non-conference wins, Xavier, Memphis, of course, took Gonzaga right down to the wire in a recent NCAA tournament game. Paul?
Randy, what do you think about this matchup with Jim Larrañaga and Miami, a team that needed to close the season well, kind of like Iowa State to secure their bid in the NCAA tourney, and they walloped Auburn pretty good, ran up and down the floor on them.
Man, just like you said, having beaten coming into this game with what was an 18-point win against Auburn. My God, yeah. That was that's got to be a pretty good motivator. Confidence builder for Miami. And like you said, the first 2 words you said during this question, Jim Larrañaga. My gosh, this guy's a wonderful coach. He's been there a long time, and he's got. I was looking at their record. They played Duke close twice. Twice they played Duke very close. They beat Auburn, like we talked about. I've seen Iowa State favored by a point. I've seen Miami favored by a point. I just think it's going to be. It's got the potential to be, a whale of a game. I don't think either team has maybe the greatest talent. This probably not the best team that Miami's ever had. I know it's not the best team that Iowa State's ever had, but when you take out the scoring averages of what made when you take the points out of it, we've got that both teams have guys that have bought in. Miami is a team that's guard heavy, so it might be interesting in that respect. And I was talking to Iowa State post player George Conant today. He's from Chicago. He was talking about playing against Charlie Moore again, Miami's point guard. Miami's sixth year point guard, by the way. He's been there a while. They played against each other in high school, so it's going to be. He's looking forward to playing against him, and they're good buddies. Playing against him on Friday back in their own hometown. So Iowa State's going to have its work cut out for them. I mean, it's Iowa State's not the greatest in the post, and so but maybe they can score in there because I don't think Miami is the tallest or the best team in the post in the tournament. But yet, Iowa State's going to have to continue. For the last two games, Iowa State shot it pretty well. That's going to have to continue.
Randy, thank you. We'll have you back on if it's okay. Craig, you got another question for him? I want to get into spring football at some point, unless you're going to do that right now. Go ahead. Yeah, I got time.
Yeah, I mean, last year there were, I guess, some big outside expectations. Obviously, a very up and down year, and now a bit of a changing of the guard, losing some very familiar faces that we've seen for the Cyclones, Purdy, Kolar, et cetera. What are kind of the thoughts and expectations right now as spring ball gets underway?
Yeah, spring ball started 2 weeks ago. I know it did. They started early. They practiced for a week and then they took a week off. They had pro day today, and then they're heavy into the rest of spring ball starting tomorrow, I think. But the expectations were high last year, and they did. I don't think they lived. I know they didn't live up to expectations. And the expectations for this coming season won't be as high as they were, obviously, because of the reasons you mentioned, losing those players, especially Breece Hall and Brock Purdy. Those are tough players to replace. I think Iowa State has got the foundation laid now to get 7 wins or so each season. I think that's pretty much in place. They had good reserves. They had good backups. Breece Hall had a good backup. The backup quarterback's going to be interesting to see how that works out, though, because the Brock Purdy played 95% of the snaps, and why wouldn't he? I mean, it's not like Iowa State was blowing opponents out last year. So they needed him in there, and the backup quarterback didn't get a ton of snaps. But Iowa State's offensive line is mostly veteran. Linebackers a couple of linebackers came back that was kind of surprising. So that might make up for some of the loss of losing Mike Rose. I don't think Iowa State's going to fall off the face of the earth, but I think it's going to be a tough go. But I still think they're good enough to win 7 games, at least get back in the bowl situation.
Randy, we'll talk to you again. Look forward to seeing you at some point this summer at Big 12 Media Days, but we'll discuss things with you before then. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Randy Peterson, Des Moines, Iowa Register, joins us at Randy Pete on Twitter about Iowa State, their great run. And he's right, man. You both have mentioned this. The chat room mentioned this. The calls. You play each other like the Big 12 and other conferences were tough and deep as well. But you play that, and then you get outside the conference, and it's almost a relief. No matter who you're playing, a higher seed, a really highly ranked team. And that has obviously been the case for Iowa State, and it was almost the case even another week deeper for TCU as well. 521, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, then John McClain, and Paul's Top 5 still to come, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ram Truck Month is here, and it's all about the championship drive as our hometown teams march towards another exciting championship drive. And so can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. Shop for power, performance, and reliability with the brands that bring you what you want to drive. Come in today and see our selection of new 2022 trucks, SUVs, and cars. It's time to take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco. Shop the huge inventory of new car and truck inventory in stock today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Empty backfield, four-man rush, and that is intercepted. It's DeMarcus Lawrence down the sideline. He goes, and look at that, into the end zone.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. David, it's been an interesting start to free agency for the Cowboys. Obviously, the fans are less than enthused with a lot of the things that have happened. Everything is short-term deals, and Randy Gregory's gone, and there's a lot of consternation. But what I'm surprised about is that people are surprised that this is the organizational philosophy, given that for the last decade, this is exactly what it's been.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it so that I don't have to. I mean, I get it. Maybe it sounds pretentious, but they pulled out the playbook and they are running all the classics, man. Like this is every free agency that I've gotten used to seeing here over the last decade. You retain a few key guys from the year before. You lose a few guys that you can't afford to keep. I think the Randy Gregory one is pretty unique because typically you usually have a read on whether a guy is going to stay or go. And for them to be as close as they were to bringing him back only to have it fall apart, I get why that stings. And I certainly think it hurts the Cowboys' pass rush prospects moving forward, but you turn right back around and use that money to take some gambles on some, you buy low with the hope of selling high. I mean, Dante Fowler was a top 5 pick in his draft class. He's had 11.5 sack season at one point in his career. James Washington was a top 60 pick, a local guy that I think that they probably got a discount on because he wanted to be here. This is Cowboys 101, and I completely get why it frustrates people, but this is the playbook that they've always wanted to run, and they are running the playbook to perfection. Whether that's going to produce results, I think that's what's got people agitated.
Yeah, and look, I think that what frustrates most people is they haven't clearly, since they've won the last Super Bowl, figured out when to spend big money and then when to not. It just seemed, and it all kind of works out the same when you're not winning Super Bowls. So I guess the philosophy doesn't matter. If it doesn't work one way and it doesn't work the other, they can be mad all they want, but the result's still the same.
Yeah, and I always say, like, I lean toward thinking that the Cowboys' strategy is more right than wrong. I think in general, you don't win championships by splurging a ton of money. I mean, the Jaguars spent like $200 million last week, and I don't think that they're a significantly better team because of it. I think like maybe one of those signings was really a quality one, getting Brandon Scherf on board, who's a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Pretty good signing. The rest, I'm not so sure. Having said that, I think the Cowboys need to find a way to be a little bit more adaptable because we're basically a decade into this bargain hunting model, and they've built some pretty good teams, but the success in the playoffs doesn't show it, and you can't convince me that this team is going to be better than the one that just lost in the first round of the playoffs. If it is, it'll be good fortune more so than good team building. I mean, if you strike oil and Dante Fowler plays like an all-pro and get this, that, and the other out of your draft class, you got like 2 Pro Bowl rookies. It's possible, but it's not likely. And I think the results of the last decade show that. And I think that's what frustrates fans, and I don't blame them, is it can't be all one way. You got to identify ways to get aggressive, whether that's flipping minor trades. Again, not like a Matthew Stafford sort of blockbuster, but you can use your 8 or 9 draft picks to acquire talented players. You can bring veterans into this team. You can be willing to spend a little bit more than league minimum to get talented players onto your roster. And like I said, I don't think that means you need to drop $200 million in the first week of free agency, but this painfully conservative methodology has not been working out. It would be nice to see them maybe do a little bit more to acknowledge that than they have over the last few years.
Well, and David, I think if they feel like they're close to being a Super Bowl contending team, and if you listen to Mike McCarthy, he certainly feels that way. Dak Prescott feels that way. I think Stephen Jones feels that way. I mean, they went 12-5 last year. Departures notwithstanding on that, this is a team that has talent. There are a couple of guys out there, namely Bobby Wagner and Tyrann Mathieu, that are at positions that the Cowboys could need the help at, that I think would, and maybe with Jaron Kearse and Malik Hooker and everybody in the fold, the Honey Badger goes down the value a little bit, but would maybe help, mesh those two philosophies together.
You would like to think, but again, I think the market's going to dictate that, and the Cowboys make it very clear they're not going to get into a bidding war. If Bobby Wagner decides that his market isn't as great as he wants it to be, and this is a respectable offer that will allow him to boost his value in a year or two, and he gets to be with Dan Quinn, maybe. And I guarantee you that's the Cowboys' hope. I guarantee you the Cowboys are sitting here saying, oh, maybe he sits out there for another week and doesn't like what he sees, and we can put together an offer that looks a little more palatable. But they're not going to get into bidding wars. They just don't do it. And I would have to see them do it to believe that they would. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even at this late stage of free agency, I use the word late facetiously because free agency hasn't even officially been open for a week. But even still, there are useful, talented players that can make your team better available. And to be fair to them,
the Cowboys have plenty of time to investigate that. I promise you they're not done signing guys, but I got to see them kind of get aggressive and make those type of moves before I believe that they're going to do it.
One of the things that's kind of worked out for them, though, over the last week was, Dak Prescott's his contract is so huge and it's ridiculous. And what are they doing? Less than a year later, it's a bargain.
Well, it's good for them, but it's also frustrating because if you understand this league at all, you should have known that was coming for a long time. That's the way that this works. Like, the minute your deal is signed, you're 6 months away from looking like a bargain, because especially in this day and age with how pass happy and how favorable the rules are toward quarterbacks and receivers, it's just going to keep trending in this direction. I don't mean to take credit away from anybody, but in my opinion, it's easier than it's ever been to be a top-notch quarterback in this league. And so, it's great for the Cowboys that Dak all of a sudden kind of looks like a bargain, but they could have realized that 2 years ago, and he could be a ridiculous bargain playing on like a $30 to $35 million deal instead of a 40 to 42. And I think I'm so over these multiple year arguments about whether or not a guy is worth it. You just decide whether he is or not and do it. And if he's not, you can always get out of it in a few years. And that's the funny thing for the Cowboys. I mean, they eventually got the deal done, but they're already only 2 or 3 years away from being able to move on. So the quicker you can bring yourself to make those types of decisions, the better off I think you are.
How much has the movement, draft pick trading, and everything that has been? I mean, it feels to me like that of 32 teams, only 9 of them are in the first round after all the things moving around the last couple of years. But how has that maybe affected positively or negatively the prospects that could be available for the Cowboys at 24?
It's a good question. I don't think it does a ton to change, because all those picks do is change hands, and the needs are still going to be there. I think the quarterback thing is interesting just because this is the first year in a while where you can't pinpoint 2 or 3 guys that are definitely going to go in the top 10 or 12. I think a guy like Malik Willis will still probably creep into the top 10 if I had to guess, though. But I am interested because a few of those picks, you look at Houston now holding 2 top 15 picks. You look at Seattle getting their way into the top 10 with the Russell Wilson trade. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be looking to just rebuild their rosters, picking in front of the Cowboys. And maybe that's problematic because teams that are rebuilding their rosters are typically looking for linemen on both sides of the ball. Maybe you're looking for a lockdown corner. But I don't think it changes the prospects too drastically. I mean, when you're picking all the way back at 24, you're really just hoping for the best case scenario anyway. I would imagine the Cowboys will probably feel fortunate if they have 1 or 2 first-round grades still sitting there when they pick at 24. So as long as you have that, I think you just hope for the best. I don't really think it changes their prospects as much.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us every week. David, sorry about your flight yesterday. I imagine the weather really messed you up.
I got no complaints because for as bad as the weather was in North and Central Texas, and I hope everybody's okay, but I think my plane touched down about 30 minutes ahead of all the worst of it. So I made out just fine. I hope everybody else did.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
PioneerBoys.com. Well, Hall of Famer John McClain with us on Tuesdays. Baylor alum, Waco native, joins us. Not much has been going on in the NFL, huh? John, thanks for your time. We'll get to the weekend from hell as a Baylor fan. But Deshaun Watson, the Texans, in the end, based on all of what they knew or what they could do, based on what Deshaun Watson wanted to do, did Nick Caserio come out of it about as well as he could?
I think Nick Caserio did a fantastic job. He had no say in where Watson went. He could have had 5 number 1 picks and 5 starters offered by Carolina, New Orleans, or Atlanta. He couldn't have taken it if Watson said no. So that's what happens with a no trade clause. So Watson wanted to go to Cleveland. They got 6 draft choices. They got ones in each of the next 3 years. They got a 4 this year, a 3 in 2023, and a 4 in 2024. And I think under the circumstances when he was negotiating with handcuffs on, that was as good a haul as he could have gotten. Now he's got to make sure that they make the right picks and the coaches develop the players.
John, it appeared, there were some rumors about Laramie Tunsil wanting out of town. He's negated those and said he wants to be in Houston. Does it seem now that, like Nick Cassiero used the word clarity for both sides, that now that this is cleared up, the players that are there will be more entrenched in wanting to be Houston Texans?
Well, they like Tunsil didn't want out, Paul. They were thought they would trade him. He only played 5 games last year because of a broken thumb, and they thought he could have come back at the end of the season, but he said he was too injured, and they had other players playing with casts on. But they have a new offensive line coach, George Warhop. This is the 8th job he's had in the NFL as a line coach. He wanted to keep Tunsil because if they traded him, they would need 4 new starters in the offensive line. Right now they have their tackles back. They also have a right guard, A.J. Ken. They signed as a free agent from Jacksonville, where Warhop was the last 3 years. So they don't have as many big needs in the offensive line. They still need, to me, a left guard and a center instead of almost across the board. They need a running back desperately. They need a pass rusher, and they are destitute at safety, which gives them several options with a 3rd overall pick if they keep it and don't trade down. They also have the 13th overall pick, and it wouldn't surprise me, Paul, if they didn't trade down on both of those, but at least one of them for sure.
John, I want to go back to last week. I think it was after we had talked to you a little while later that the Davante Adams news broke with the Raiders and the Packers making that big deal. What were your thoughts on Davante Adams heading to Las Vegas?
I was amazed because I was watching on NFL Network and ESPN all these former players talking about, one of them actually said, a former player, this makes Derek Carr the best quarterback in the division. And I'm like, my God, you must have been hitting the head so much, too much. First of all, Davante, let me go back. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl without Davante Adams. And in games without Adams, they were 7-0 and averaged 31 points a game. I think they'll be all right. People are acting like Adams made Rodgers. No, give me a break. Would Davante Adams put up those gaudy numbers all these years if he was playing with lesser quarterbacks? Of course he wouldn't. Not many receivers can be quarterback proof. DeAndre Hopkins was a good example. But Adams was from Fresno State. He and Derek Carr have been good friends since they were in college together. He wanted to go back there. He got his wish. More power to him. Now, in a deep receiver draft, the Packers can get at least one really good one in the first round, and I'm guessing they'll take another one in the subsequent round, and Aaron Rodgers will be happy.
John, the Cowboys' Lyle Collins is on his way to Cincinnati. Obviously, we knew about the Randy Gregory. We talked to you about that as well, and they kind of seem like they're a little bit stuck in. They did get James Washington, right, Paul? And then who's the other player they got? It was a 1-year deal.
Dante Fowler.
Dante Fowler. It seems like they've kind of, they have not reached out and signed big time free agent names. Are they going to stay status quo?
Well, they're not trying to win March. Some teams trying to win March and get their fans and the media all excited, like Jacksonville, and then they peter out when it gets into the regular season. I think the Cowboys are being very wise. Think about all the years the Cowboys went out and signed big name players or spent big money. Everybody got so excited about it during the season came. It didn't mean jack. I think what they've done, is what they should do. Fill in. They've got enough stars. They've got firepower. They still have needs, and they have the draft. I still think they're the favorite by far in the NFC East.
John, do we want to help
I've got some other football questions before you get to Baylor. Matt Ryan in Indianapolis, John. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Has been a crazy carousel of quarterbacks, and it just continues on now.
Never seen anything like it, Craig, ever. Now, Matt Ryan last season, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a 90 rating. Not very impressive. But, Julio Jones was traded. Calvin Ridley, his best receiver, did set out because of mental health issues. Now, if he'd have come back, Russell Gage, his best receiver, signed with Tampa, and Ridley's suspended for the year. He's got one receiver, Kyle Pitts. If they'd have gotten Deshaun Watson there, trading all those picks, it would have been hard to fill in around him. Where he went to Cleveland, where they have a lot of talent. Ryan's with a much better team. But did he have a bad season because of lack of talent? Or did he have a bad season because he's nearing the end of the line? And we'll find out. But it certainly has made the Colts more interesting, considering they had no quarterback. And now if I'm Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo, and it's not going to happen with Garoppolo because it's the same division, but if I'm Mayfield, I want to go to Seattle. They have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett at wide receiver. They have Noah Fant, number 1 pick in 2019, who came in the trade for Russell Wilson at tight end. And they just re-signed their running back, Rashad Penny, who had 132-yard average per game over the last 5 games, second most yards in the NFL to Jonathan Taylor over that period. They got a prolific offense, but they also have Drew Lock, which means they need somebody else.
So Matt Rule in Carolina struck out, huh?
Do you feel like they're just going to wait for Jimmy Garoppolo now, or that's kind of the de facto prize there?
Well, there's a story out of there that they don't want Baker Mayfield. And Garoppolo's coming off shoulder surgery on his throwing shoulder, so he's not going to be traded anytime soon. I could see the 49ers waiting until the trade deadline until he's 100% healthy, and then trading him to a team that's lost its quarterback and thinks it's going to the Super Bowl. It wouldn't surprise me. And this is amazing. I've been reading today about Malik Willis. Malik Willis had his pro day today, and he tore it up. He threw some great passes in his shorts, in his T-shirt, with nobody pressuring him and nobody covering the receivers, and yet everybody was breathless, just like the combine. It just blows me away the way people will fall in love with guys with no pressure and nobody covering the receivers. So be that as it may, I think Malik Willis is going to be the first quarterback taken. Now, they think he needs a year to develop. Would Carolina go with Sam Darnold, take him 6th overall, and let him sit out a year? If that's the case, and the owner, David Tepper, says, okay, Matt, I'll give you this year and one more year, because everybody says he's on the hot seat. If he's got to go with Sam Darnold again after Matt Rule pushed for him and traded high picks for him, that could be the kiss of death. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him be the first quarterback off the board to the Panthers.
John, I saw a note to Corey Coleman to Kansas City. I called him. He was on a plane, in fact, about to depart, told him to hang up the phone. He's headed to Kansas City to sign. Kind of a maybe one more chance. He's had some of those. And your thoughts about, can an organization make a guy obviously better than what's happened to him hadn't played for a year, the years 2 or 3 prior to that?
Did he take his 2,000 pair of shoes with him? I remember when he was Tennessee, they were just amazed at how many pairs of shoes he had. I don't think it'll help him. They got Juju Smith-Schuster. Mm-hmm. He was starting way down the depth chart. But as you guys know, Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of receivers look good. That's a perfect place for a receiver trying to make a comeback.
Well, I guess now is now time.
Well, we're trying to maybe run out of time. We didn't have to ask you about it, but good God, John, what a weekend of hell.
I'm so happy for Jerome Tang, even though he's in the conference, but I thought he would have gotten a job years ago. I bet he turned down some opportunities. Think what that's going to be like when the Wildcats play the Bears. The North Carolina, as you guys know, wasn't an 8th seed. Terrible start, great comeback. I can't complain about it. It was the women that shocked me. I watched that game. It was like they were out there and didn't care. That was the one that blew me away.
John, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sick'em.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, great Hall of Famer, does numerous shows throughout the week, and we're proud to be one of them. Came with us when we moved here and started this show in April of 2020. All right, Armstrong, last night we were discussing this in the studio. Some of you on even YouTube, the chat room, and even text or whatever were asking about the weather. There was some bad stuff that came through the Austin through Temple, even around that area. But this is the one that I saw, and this is the one that's gone kind of viral, and you got to be careful about whether it's real or whatever in this day and age. But there was a tornado in Round Rock. You could see it, the funnel cloud. It came skipping across a highway. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. Look at the red truck. This is a pickup truck. Caught what looks like in the middle. See, it's on. You could barely see it. It's being spun around. It almost looks like it's on its side. It was on its side and then flipped back over.
And then he takes off
and then he just takes off. If there's a commercial that needs to be, whether that looks like it might be a Chevrolet truck, a Ford truck, whatever, Dodge Ram, look at that.
What's going through his mind right now?
Well,
and continuing on and continuing. And now I'm back up and... What's going on? And oh my gosh, I can still drive this thing. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, I can't tell. It looks like it could be a Ram truck.
Chevy.
Maybe
Chevy, yeah.
But that is phenomenal. I saw that funnel cloud on a couple of videos. Man.
Hey, and glad that guy's alive. I'll tell you that if that were me, that same thing happened to, I'd be driving off going, man, this is a real reliable truck, but there's going to be a guy who washes his cars pissed off at me.
Craig, you were closer to it than anyone. Paul, you and I are a little bit further, about 5 miles west of, but right on 35 is where Craig lives. This was dangerous. The sirens went off. I lost electricity. I had my closet downstairs. It's a split level. I had it open just in case. And then I'm starting to wonder, do I bring a burger and fries in there? Do I have a cell phone charger?
I went and picked up dinner on the way home, and when I got in, my watch and my phone go off and says tornado warning. I said, okay, well, it gives me a second. So then the sirens start going off. So Amanda is like, well, we better... get Woodrow, and because he's an older dog.
Amanda asked you to get in the tub?
In the closet. So I had to go get in the tub in that middle bathroom would be bad because it's a big window right next to it. So we have the middle closet there under the stairs, and got the dog in there. And I called my mom to make sure she was aware, and she's like, "I'm watching the news right now. You can get out of there. It's not over here yet." And I was like, then why are the sirens going off?
I think it's because it went
I was a little nervous. Yeah.
That's just I know there are places you can live in the Panhandle, in certain parts of West Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, whatever, where the sirens going off is almost like breathing. And then, of course, the opportunities there are worse, unfortunately. A lot of people have been killed and wrecked and whatever. But just hearing that noise, sometimes they'll warn you when they're going to do a siren or whatever, they test it. When it's actually pretty bad weather and you hear that, it's very eerie. And I know some of you have maybe heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reporter here who's from like the Northeast who I guess she heard the sirens for the first time and compared it to the Purge. But I mean, I'm kind of used to it. I heard the sirens and I actually did what you're not supposed to do. I went and sat on my back porch and looked at the sky. Because there was. I mean, I get it, but. There was no issue with it because the area above me, like I was watching the sky and I was just seeing the weather. And if I had seen anything that was, looking weird, then I would have gone in and sheltered like I was supposed to. But it got windy, it got rainy, but I never saw like suspicious clouds or anything like that. So yeah, pretty much avoided it, but I know a lot of people didn't. So thoughts and prayers to all those folks.
And Granger got hit really hard.
And Jacksboro earlier in the day, the high school gym was blown up.
But one of the main radars that they use all over the state was in Granger. I heard Brady Taylor and Matt Hines both talking about it at length yesterday as I flipped back and forth and watched their weather coverage. And I will continue. I said this on Twitter yesterday. I make fun of meteorologists all the time because, why not? But yesterday, those guys were doing some work. And not only that, just when you're reporting on weather and you don't know when you're going to be off the air, you can't go to commercial. You have to just sit there and keep doing things. That's a really hard day.
And people want to call and bitch and moan because they're missing their favorite show. And I'll tell you this story.
Right now,
1987.
There was an EAS message that went on for like 4.5 minutes, and I was like, okay, that's ridiculous. Like, there's like, I mean, it went. I appreciate it, but that thing does not need to be 4.5 minutes long. So yeah, I would imagine they got some calls from people who are just like, okay, we got the point, shelter, all that, but this thing just kept dragging and dragging and dragging.
I'll never forget though, 1987, a tornado hit Palestine, Texas. I was a weekend sports anchor at KLTV and Channel 7 in Tyler, and I remember taking a call from somebody that was very much worried. John Adams, longtime weather guy. I remember trying to call him, and then I remember there was kind of a delay, and I got a call from my news director at the time. His name's Jerry Gumbert, a great friend of mine, executive producer. He said, have you heard anything about Palestine? I said, yes, and I contacted the weather guy, and then I let him take over from there. I protected myself and also made sure I maybe didn't cost myself a job. But weather, that doesn't matter. We can make fun of it. It's 100 degrees. It's 100 degrees. It's 100 degrees. It's going to rain. But I remember that day, and Palestine got hit with a monster tornado. And again, I was about the only one in the newsroom when I got that call. And that's back before you had anything other than just the wire and pagers. That was it, and a regular rotary phone. When we come back, Paul, so hopefully whoever got hit a little bit, everything's going to be okay. In some cases, there was more damage than in others. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 NFL questions right now as we move towards the second week of free agency. Sorry, it's still the offseason. It doesn't feel like it. I mean, it's been nuts, and so many different things have happened. But number 5, as the door blows open for the wind, who signs the Honey Badger? This is kind of curious to me. This is a player who, even though he is in his 30s, can still help a team out a lot. I would think that, if I'm the Colts, the Steelers, I mean, look, this is somebody that Cowboys fans would love to have. But let's face it, guys, that's not going to happen. Their organization philosophy is not that. So there's a rumor out there that he's down to the Colts and the Cowboys. Come on.
I haven't heard that. I have not seen that once.
Yeah, normally, again, that's just a rumor. The Cowboys are in every rumor.
So somebody wants to get clicks and views by just mentioning the logo.
But, I think the Jones family has proved to you that they're not signing players like
if
Tyrann
they do
Mathieu.
that, will that make up for some of the anger management of some of the things they've done or not done?
I would think it would help a little bit, but, even still, if they sign him, it's going to be a one-year deal.
They were able to this year play defense at a level we haven't seen them play, especially forcing turnovers with a bunch of guys in the secondary, especially at safety, who got just minimal deals, one-year deals or a chance with incentives.
Yeah.
So why try to get away from that? No matter how good he might be, the money he'll cost.
Yeah. Number 4, does a team with a new quarterback make a move for Teron Armstead? I mean, this is a left tackle who's really good. He might go back and play with the Saints and Jameis Winston, but if I'm Indianapolis and I just signed Matt Ryan or one of these teams that made a trade, like if there's a left tackle on the market I can go get, I may go get him.
I haven't heard much about it. I know he's a good player. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, the thought would have been the Bengals initially, but then they went and made a move. I mean, I guess potentially,
moves, yeah,
I guess potentially, they're still going to be interested in offensive linemen, but. Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be a weird spot to be in after that rush last week and the week prior of just being somebody out there right now who doesn't have a deal and almost having to be at the mercy of the draft in some ways for some of these guys to know when they can or how they will fall. But, yeah, Armstead's a solid player. I mean, there's got to be somebody in the league that needs some help on the O-line. And certainly there's going to be a lot of new quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of new quarterbacks in the league, whether they're new because they were drafted or they're new just to the team that they're on now. So, yeah, I'd imagine somebody sooner rather than later will want to make a play for Armstead.
Tackle?
Yeah, left
okay,
tackle.
Well, then the Rams lost Whitworth, but that's a guard.
Well,
so that doesn't...
Noteboom, Joseph Noteboom.
That's
TCU
right.
took over for him.
All right. Okay.
Number 3, did the Cowboys make a splash move at all? And you got to wonder, I don't think so, but if it continues to go and maybe somebody gets, point to the fact that, Bobby Wagner would be the one that makes sense to me for them to make. They have a need at the position. They have cap room. He has familiarity with Dan Quinn. They could do this. And this is where, and we talked about this today with David Hellman, maybe they need to, we're not telling them to win March. Nobody's telling them to go win March and sign 8 free agents. You can go sign 1, though, to a couple-year deal and be fine. And he might help you over the top, especially if you
Does he help him?
Close. Yeah.
Then freaking sign him.
Yeah.
He's a great player, appears to be a tremendous person in the locker room, a guy that everybody respects, and as you know, he knows. But they just gave, they got Micah Parsons, and can you imagine the combination of Micah Parsons and Bobby Wagner? And then, of course, you got Van Der Esch for the 1 more year. Wow.
Well, and Van Der Esch, if they'd picked up, saw this note from Calvin Watkins today, if they'd picked up his option, it would have been $9 million.
Yeah, I know.
Instead, they let it walk, and they saved $7 million in a guy that they don't really want long-term.
$2 million, and at times, there's times, but so is he his rookie year or last year? Go ahead, Craig.
Finish.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. Is Van Der Esch who he was as a rookie, who he was as a second-year player, which was bad, or who he was at times when he flashed last year?
I think he is who he was last year. I think you are who you are now. Yeah. Number 2, and this one's kind of been debunked since I sent the graphics to Jack, Carolina or Seattle for Baker Mayfield. Now, Carolina they say they might be interested. You would think they'd have to move Sam Darnold, because they're actually making the same money almost exactly, Darnold and Mayfield, to get Baker Mayfield, but they're mutual disinterest. John, you heard John McClain just say it. If I'm Seattle, I'm a guy who's in the Baker Mayfield camp for the time being. I think if you put enough around him and tailor things to his strengths, you can win a little bit with Baker Mayfield. Can you win a Super Bowl? No, but you can win more than you are right now.
What can you get for him? And would Washington rather have had him or Wentz? Because they took Wentz before any of the other ones became available.
I'd rather have him, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I would too.
I'd rather have Baker. Yeah.
Because at least, Wentz is an injury-prone guy. Baker got beat up a little bit, but I still, with a picture of Baker Mayfield that day when Baylor was like 1-7 and Oklahoma was rolling, and Taylor Young planted him in that McLean Stadium near upset that's in our studio. So I think there would be. I don't know who Seattle's going to get.
Carolina. I know a guy available. His name's Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. And apparently they actually talked again today. Like that just, if that doesn't tell you the state of the Panthers, that they might dip back into that well again, then I don't know. But they're striking out as far as trying to land a quarterback. They don't want Mayfield. I don't know what the deal is there, how mutual that was, but. It doesn't appear to be Carolina, so Seattle's going to have to be the place most likely for Baker Mayfield.
Some franchises just poop quarterbacks out in the draft or free agency. The Cowboys have had a bunch of them. They've had their stretch too, but in the end, they've had a lot of them. There are some that just can't even have one fall in their lap accidentally.
No,
Carolina had Kerry Collins. They had Cam Newton.
Yeah.
All
right, and number 1 is Jimmy G tradable. They had surgery on his throwing shoulder. Are you going to trade for him? Say you are Carolina, and this is your last option. Are you going to trade for Jimmy G, knowing he may not be able to really play for you?
Is he that much better than Darnold?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world, but I take him over Sam Darnold.
But
yes.
Is Jimmy G better than Sam Darnold? Yes. Is Jimmy G someone who can get you to the Super Bowl? He's done that before. Is Jimmy G a person who gets to the Panthers to the Super Bowl? No. Is Jimmy G someone who can keep Matt Rule's job? Yes.
All right. Is Jimmy G worth whatever you have to give up to get him?
If you're Matt Rule, yes.
Above Sam Darnold?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We've done
keep your job.
We've done the Sam Darnold thing. The Sam Darnold thing's not gonna save the job of Matt Rule. So yeah, they need to do something desperately just for the fan base's sake. And I like Matt Rule. Like a lot of his staff members, was happy for him. A little bit bitter when he decided to leave Baylor in the midst of right as they're starting to really reach a point of relevance once again. But I understood it. No matter how many people he was never loyal or what it's like. It's his dream. I'm not going to get mad at a guy for living his dream. So, all best wishes possible. But yeah, they desperately got to find a quarterback that can help them, win as many games as possible, at least, and maybe save him another year. Because I don't know how he makes it out of next year if it's the same that it was these last couple years.
The only way he would is if David Tepper is just like, look, I get it. We can't get a quarterback. Yeah. I'm going to give you another couple mulligans until we can because it's just been that hard. But there's a reason none of these quarterbacks want to go there too.
Yeah, so that's true.
There really is only about 2 handfuls full of quarterbacks that can help. And so many teams that still need them. All right, Paul, thank you very much for the top 5. Thank you.
Well, and I think, too, that Carolina's going to have to wait and see what Baker does. Yeah. Because, if he doesn't go to Seattle, that kind of plays into the dominoes needing to fall, so who knows with Carolina. But, yeah, I wanted to mention that Baker will probably help clear that up a little bit.
Jack will have different stuff up on the chat, on the premium section as far as anything that we need when it comes to spring drills, along with Grayson. Oh, there we go. Also, thanks to you on the chat room, text line, and also Armstrong Sims behind the scenes, all of our sponsors, 500 shows deep. Our next anniversary in a couple of weeks on April the 6th, 2 years. And thank you for your time today. For Paul Catalina, for Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Good night. Sick 'em. 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.